Hey guys, this is Patrick Carl-Sedermoon. You might know me as the guy with the most IM medals in the world, or something like that. I'm also the CGO of Fnatic, and you're watching Duncan Thorin Shields YouTube channel. Pleasure being here.
Okay, this is another episode of Counterpoints, the 13th, if I've actually gotten that correct. And as always, with all the stuff on my channel, it's a show sponsored by Alpha Draft, where you can play fantasy esports. And my guests for this particular episode. So, in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, Bom dia, it's FalleN from Luminosity. Hello, mate.
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Just waiting to see how this discussion goes. We've got a packed house here today. So in the upper right-hand corner, you say bonjour to NBK. How you doing, mate?
Bonjour, baguette. Hello.
Okay. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, no one gives a fuck about your language, YNk. No one knows. Nah, I'm just joking. It's actually Zdravo, right?
Yeah.
So you say hello?
Yeah.
There we go, see? He's got them. He's mastered them all. Now, what happened was, I saw everyone having a discussion on Twitter, but the problem with Twitter is, it's like a limited amount of characters. I don't actually make money by other people's discussions on Twitter, so I was like, right, really, we should get this conversation going on YouTube. And so we've got this nice panel here together. We've got a topic we want to discuss. So you know what? I thought, let's bite the bullet and let's just have this discussion. It's apparently a phrase, NBK. So we're gonna start using that more. Actually, that's actually a phrase in English as well. It's an idiom. So okay, the discussion that I saw you guys having, which is one that's obviously been had a lot ever since the update of the R8 revolver. One of the other things that was changed was the round timer increase and the bomb timer increase. And so when this change was initially introduced, people tried to talk about it on Reddit and in threads and stuff, but the real problem is we didn't know how it would actually affect a match. Like, we'd never seen how teams would adapt to it, if it would change anything. What are your general thoughts to start out on the topic, NBK? Like, what do you think about the concept of the round timer or the bomb timer? You can pick which one you want to talk about first.
Well, I think as a general thing, Valve imposed some stuff on the game and on the whole meta game and changes like that without really asking many persons with the thought process, etc. And again, we were kind of somehow shocked by 10 more seconds in the round time and 5 in the bomb timer. And yeah, now that we have the elements that with so many games, I think it just changes the metagame and makes it more complete. As in, you have different ways now to approach how to hold a side, how to control the map, and how to make all that kind of stuff work. So as a general thought regarding those two changes, after some time, I think it adds more depth into the game and more thinking into your tactics and into how you hold things. So I like the change.
Okay. So FalleN, it sounded like you also agreed with NBK on this topic. Like, you thought, like a lot of people, when they first heard about the change, the criticism was that they thought, like, oh, it would make it too easy to get diffusers on the bomb, because you have more time to work with. It would make it worse for tactics because you have more time to rotate. Sounded like you're actually in favor of it, though, right?
Yeah, in the beginning, I was thinking that would be a mistake doing this kind of change because I actually liked the game how it was playing the best. But after practicing with this new change and after playing some tournaments, of course, it was even more difficult to play against Na'Vi, but other than that, it's always good. I think it's better. You have more time to go for retakes. You have different styles to play. In the past, some maps you could just smoke some areas and wait for it, and then the T's had to rush with less time in the side. And now that's not real because the T sides can just wait you to throw all your smokes and this kind of things. And that's interesting because now the CTs have to think, should I throw my nades and try to block them right now? Because I don't know if the other team is really coming or if they're just going to wait their smokes and then come later. So I think it adds more option and more game styles to the game, so I think it was good.
See, what's funny about that is, if we're talking about like idioms in different languages, FalleN, we have an idiom in English you might have heard before called to give someone a taste of their own medicine. Now, if you're saying like it's annoying to play against Na'Vi, like I don't know if anyone else has played against Luminosity before. They say the same thing, mate. Everyone's waiting till 30 seconds. That's like the old NBK style.
It might be true. Oh, Luminosity, it might be true.
Okay. Na'Vi's the only team who can do that to you, though. They're the only ones who wait longer. Okay. YNk, it sounds like you're the dissenting voice here, right? You didn't like this change overall? Or that was what you said on Twitter, right?
Yeah, I was, because I agree with what FalleN just said, but I think that you could do what he said in before the update as well, right? Because the problem was, I think that a lot of teams on their T side, they weren't aggressive enough early. Like teams like EnVyUs or Fnatic, they would, even go through smokes and stuff like on Inferno, get mid control, and that would force CTs from that point on. Once they lose a round because they were saving smokes and such, they will have to throw those smokes early, which in return meant that, you can exploit that. Then you can just wait out for the smokes, for them to throw it early, and then you can do some stuff on the map, like go for fakes and whatever. Now, you can just wait every time, because rarely will a CT team just, wait out for the whole 1 and 55 seconds holding out smokes, at least from what I've been seeing. And then you have just Ts waiting for the CTs to throw their smokes, throw their incendiaries, and then they do their thing. And by that point, they still have like maybe even 40 seconds, between 30 and 40 seconds. And that's enough time to do a fake, do whatever you want. So basically, I feel that the Ts are being a bit rewarded for not doing much, just playing default save style, watching out for pushes from the Ts.
So, okay, NBK, I'm going to go to you first on this one. So Janko's point there, which is that now the terrorists can just wait forever, and they probably can wait for most of the smokes to be thrown. It's very rare that the CTs will just hold them off and time them properly. Is there something to this?
Yes and no. To me, where it really applies is when the CTs are going to be force saving and they won't be full in gear. So regarding smokes, molotovs, etc. But on the general game, I think it's becoming more important in Counter-Strike now on the city side to have full gear, flashes, smokes, muddies. And for a long time, the T side had the upper hand, like by a big margin. And now there are a few teams that added a lot of stuff into the game. Main example being Luminosity, Navi, that found ways to exactly delay that time of T's controlling the maps. The best example for me being on Train, being hyper aggressive toxic, Audi, and just picking constantly over and over again at the beginning of the round. And so the terrorists would be much slower into being able to split the A bomb site, or you would have the information that it would be on the B bomb site. It's like a single example on one map. But to me, it just changes the metagame in the fact that the CTs have to be more aggressive if they want to be successful. Of course, you can just wait and chill on your bomb site and just let the terrorists wait as well, and then you have no smokes and you're screwed. But it's just that if you want to be successful with those changes, you have to adapt, and not all the teams have adapted yet into those new changes. And so to me, you just have to be more aggressive as on the city side. And so you have to, now that I'm leading for Envy, I see the city side as a sort of weak terrorist side, where you have to take informations, be more aggressive, and try to outplay the opponent into really thinking how their attack is building up and how the counter map is building up. That's how I see it now with the change, and we're obviously still at the sort of beginning of this patch.
Okay, so FalleN, he listed your team there, Luminosity. This sounds like something that must be good for your team, because I joked there, but obviously your team does wait quite long in the round before you choose where to attack. Is this something that you're abusing, this fact that the CTs usually do throw the smokes too early, or if they don't have full equipment, you've got longer to wait out? Does this help?
Well, if you look for the old Luminosity lineup, I think you use that style a lot. With Steel and Bolts in the past, I think we are a really slow team. And I think it was part of the process of me understanding better the game and my teammates as well. But right now, I think we try to add some stuff in our game, because we realized that this style wasn't enough to beat the top teams in the world. So we had to come with new ideas, like EnVyUs ideas, these kind of things, when they're just more brutal and just use more brutal skill to get rounds. And as Janko said, it might be true that the terrorists are being have a little more advantage now. But if you look in the past, all maps have been almost all CT-sided. So I think it's good to have some advantage to the Ts. And the other hand, if you look for the bomb timer time, the change, they made it for 40 seconds right now. Yes, right? Just to confirm, 40 seconds. This is good because now if the CTs understand that they must not throw the nades at the beginning of the round, they can have Molotovs. Let's put an example. If you are taking A side on cash, if you have Molotovs to give on quad, and you have Molotovs to put on forklift, you're probably going to win a retake. And if you have a E-smoke to A-man, it's done. I mean, there's not too much the terrorists can do, even if they delay it all the round. So it's up to the CTs now to understand which team they're playing against, and if it's valuable to send it earlier or later. So let's suppose I'm playing EnVyUs. I think I'm not saving too many nades right now, but if I'm playing Navi, I'm probably not throwing off them in the beginning of the round because I know they're coming slowly. So you have to study other things and you have to understand how much of each style they use so you can make better use of your nades, in my opinion.
In terms of the teams you've actually played, though, in Luminosity, when you were playing on T side, have the other top teams adapted to like saving their nades and saving their smokes long enough, or did they still just throw the old timings, do you think?
Well, it's up to what NBK said. Like, you also mentioned that YNk mentioned that some teams are just crossing smokes and making the CTs react. When you play Astralis on Inferno, that was on Face It tournament, which one we lost for Fnatic in the finals. Sure. I remember going to B Banana for some rounds, and I realized Device and Dupree was playing like behind car, trying to secure with smoking Banana. That's a common play that first time I saw Fnatic doing. And when I realized they were doing that, the second round, I just threw a flash and told my teammates, guys, just push because they're not expecting this. And then Astralis, they were TSM in the period, they said, okay, now we just can't use this anymore because they know how to kill us just like this. And then we tried to do the same thing on overtime, and they just throw 2 Molotovs on top of us. Or what it means that just because I showed them that I could do something different, now they're reacting different too as well. So it's like, if you want to make your CTs react some way you want, you need to show them something first. So I think everything now is adaptive, and you can make your opponent do something you want or not, depending on how you're playing. So I think it's better than the last time because you have more options, as I said.
So Yanko, if it's a problem for the CT side, this particular round timer increase, although obviously in a way they get something back on the bomb timer because they have more time to work with that, but if we just look at the round timer, if it's worse for the CTs, especially if they don't have full equipment, doesn't that make it worse for a team like EnVyUs, who've just been force buying all the time and have been like trying to play aggressively on CT side?
It does. I mean, in theory, because they have to do more with less. The T's have more time to wait out the few nades they have, so they have to go for maybe even more aggressive plays if they want the force buy to pay off for them. But I think that finally some teams like EnVyUs, especially yesterday in their game against Fnatic on Cash, they had a really good after winning Pistol on T side, their anti-force buy round was really good. Like, they bought a lot of nades, a lot of Molotovs to clear those close corners, and they even faked Fnatic out. So I think that teams are slowly starting to like realize that maybe equipment nades in the second round are more important than just buying AKs and having a single flash and so on, because of how strong the pistols are right now.
Yeah, I think that's up to the roles as well, right? Because if you look for some chains, you see the second rounds after pistols. I see people getting Tech 9s in second clever, and they don't have no nades. And like say overpass, how can you win a round without no nades on overpass if this is so big? The distance we have to kill people it's too different, you know. So I think it's up to the captains and it's up to the support players to understand that, okay, it might be better for me to not get a Tech 9 and second clever, but just get some nades so we can do something later. 2 smokes, 2 flashbangs. I think it's way more important to mixing your team than just having everyone with the most firepower they can, you know. So if you look for EnVyUs, that's something very funny from them. Cobblestone. Sometimes they force after losing the T pistol and they get clevers and Tech 9s and 1 flash. And then they explode B with 1 flash jumping on platform, which is pretty good because the distance is not too big, you know, you can kill people on short term. So it's up to the map, and I think the support players and game leaders should be thinking as this. Not everyone in the team can be looking for kills. People should be trying to make the kills happen. So I think it's important for people to realize that.
Okay, Yanko.
I think I just think the main example of that is Dignitas, because they came in surprising by having a different strategic approach, and they're like, although they have good firepower, well, they added some stuff into the game. They're playing more tactical, and they're trying to adapt more to other teams and just outplay them in that way. And to me, they're the example of why this style is working lately. And the only thing that is lacking for them is that adaptability that FalleN was talking about, by being able to change what you're doing, as in being able to go more aggressive or less aggressive, etc., etc.
Change the pace, right?
Yep, the rhythm into the game.
So Yanko, I've got a question for you here, because here's the thing. I was kind of on your side, Yanko. I thought this was like a bad change. I don't want, like, for example, when you phrase it the way you did, I think you made the case against it quite well, which is that it basically means that like lazy teams get more time to just sit there and then wait for everyone to throw their smokes with the old meta, and then they kind of get like the same advantage that a team would get if they just had a really good timing window of when to attack. So I get that, but here's the thing, let me spin it the other way, okay? So the way that FalleN's kind of selling me on this idea is he's making it sound like an anti-EnVyUs meta. Like, if people just do force spines with no equipment, then they get fucked up. Now, if there's one thing we can all agree on, Yanko, we all hate watching EnVyUs play CT side of maps, and we even more hate it when they actually win the round with no equipment. So this is kind of a good thing in a way, right? There is something to this.
Definitely.
I like it.
Same as for Fnatic. I mean, the problem is here, right? In a way, they are maybe forced to go for more aggressive plays, but if you look, it depends who they're playing against, right? As FalleN said, it all depends who you're playing against. Some teams really take a lot of time when they play against EnVyUs or Fnatic to make sure they clear everything, and then when it comes to the execution part, you know, they don't have many nades left. So if, let's say, EnVyUs is playing super defensively, maybe they can exploit that. Like at the game Luminosity played against Fnatic at Minsk, the Inferno game, and in the round where Dennis got the 2 kills, that's like they played that round pretty well on their T side. Like they went for the longer distance, going towards A long wrap or whatever. They smoked off the connector library and everything. But then they had no contact until that point. So now they're getting to the site, and there's still a couple of places where the cities can be, you know, hiding in different corners and so on. And then you just had Dennis getting like really lucky with
the problem with that round, the problem with that round, is that one thing that I just realized as a game leader in the past with recent participations in tournaments, that I can't figure out what's going to happen every single round for an entire match. No, I can't predict. Like I can't. So this is something that in the past I think is different. I thought, guys, if we do this, we can win. And then I realized that I need people to think by themselves sometimes, get some personal rounds, like individual skills. I need to use that. So in this round particularly, I remember I sent people, guys, can you guys pick mid fast just to get info and maybe kill someone throwing a smoke or something? And from that, they ended up in Moto trying to kill side. So because they were really excited and really hyped to finish the game, but we're not ready. The other players were not ready to hit A. So in the end, FNX and Fur went too far, you know, because they started just picking, and it was clear because Fnatic was holding passively, and then they were like, okay, you have it, okay, now we're close to library, okay, now, but they didn't stop, and Code Zero was banana, and Taco was second mid yet. So the thing is, we did a hit push without the other teammates being ready to help. So in the end, it was Fur and FNX fault because they didn't realize, okay, we're too far already. Our team's not ready for this. This wasn't the first call we did. We're just picking mid and now we're trying to hit the side. So on the other hand, in first hand, you have some people trying to make plays, but if they don't realize they're going too far, it can be a risk. And Dennis got both of them and we lost the round. It cost us the final spot, I guess. So it happens. But I think we are talking about CLG, Peter settings, kind of things. I think this style, if people knows how to play Counter-Strike, it's better than trying to make them do exactly what you want for every single round, for every single spec, you know? Because if you try to do this, teams can read it so easily. Like, if you do exactly, let's suppose we smoke Arch and we smoke Library. People knows it's a hit going people from left side. Now people are using the wrap, as I say. So if you do things like, theoretically, the meta was being used like some time ago. People already knows what's happening. You have so many ways of blocking and so many nades to anticipate, and I don't think it's worth it. So, on the other hand, it's very good to have your teammates and your players creating stuff, having initiative. But on the other hand, if they go too far, it can be a risk. So it's up to the teams to adapt and think how far can we go together on this round and kind of things.
Okay. So NBK, I know you've never met any in-game leaders who thought like they knew exactly what should happen in a round. If you do this every time, the guy's going to be there. So anyway, I know that's an irrelevant point, but here's the question. You made an interesting point before where you were saying that you think like the adaptation that you've made to how you think of CT side is to think of it like a weaker T side. Like you have to get information first. You have to figure out where they are as to how you're going to set up. I could see how this could connect to this idea of the round timer being longer, because if you the problem is, if we remember the meta of when LDLC and Fnatic first made those really good lineups and became the best teams in the world in late 2014, that was where every map was like super CT sided pretty much, except maybe Dust 2 if you were really good, but every other map pretty much was CT sided. Even Cash was very CT sided, and one of the reasons why is because most teams had learned like the kind of like the basic paint by numbers, like crayons version of like always put a smoke here at this time and put a smoke here at this time, and everyone knew the basics, so that everyone was just playing passive. Like if you remember, that's when you could actually play Inferno and win 10 rounds without ever even going into the banana if you want. You can just stay in the site and make them come to you. So if instead people don't have the luxury of always having a smoke, or for example, if it's EnVyUs and you don't even have some equipment and you have a force buy, is the new approach that you have to basically think like a T-side, like you have to take map control away, like you have to take over a whole area so that then they can't be in that area and you don't have to use a flash to whatever. Is something like this going to be the adaptation?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where teams are going. If we go back to the original subject, which is a round timer, if you just count, you have 5 smokes, so that's 75 seconds of smokes, a bit more. Okay, let's say 80 seconds of smokes. You have 5 Molotovs, so that's 5 per 8. That's 40. So you have 120 seconds, which is 2 minutes. And you have 2 bomb sites. So let's say you split it and you have, 90 seconds? Wait, that was at 180.
120, so it's like
we have 1 minute
80,
for
40 or something like that.
I fucking lost myself in the numbers. But anyway, you don't have enough time anyway, even with all that gear. If you just simply split it, you don't have enough time to cover both bomb sites with smokes and Molotovs. So you have to change the way you're approaching the game if you want to be really strong and just adapt it to the metagame. You have to take informations just like terrorists would do, or if you hold those smokes without taking informations, it's possible that the T's are just going to run 5 together into one bomb site, just clear it and win it. Or win the round behind that.
That's exactly like my point. I think that you could have done the same thing before the update. It's just that then, people maybe were a bit more afraid because they didn't have enough time and so on. When now it's what you said, like the cities don't have enough time to cover everything. Even before, like what EnVyUs used to do with throwing 4 smokes on B on Inferno. So that means they only have 1 smoke on A, and most of the time it's being saved for A apps if the T's go for an A execute. But then you can exploit that. You can get mid control easier if you're T. You can just chase away Kenny with the AWP on long or whatever, and the teams would just stand still. Even if they knew what was going to happen, they were going for some slow default or something like that. Right now, I think that you said CTs have to go for more aggressive plays to fight for map control and so on, and the T's can play a slower default, playing more safely, and just maybe get a pick for just playing passively.
Well, the thing is, just regarding the point before that the T's were coming mid, the point of having 4 smokes in B was to be 4 on the A bomb side and to be able to fight those guys that are trying to come fast into middle. And so that's where as a terrorist on Inferno, that's why at some point we're just crushing the city side, because we had that setup. We're doing that 15 rounds out of 15. And even with just pistols, like, it's very hard to beat it, because you either have to cross a smoke and have all the perfect flashes for all the angles covering the smokes, or you have to go and fight 4 guys on the A bomb site. And you don't have, like, in theory, it's hard to really counter that kind of play, because you have to be exactly perfect on which gamble you're going to take and which one you're going to make, or which strat you're going to go with. And so that's why, to me, how it's good to have more time is that this kind of let's say, perfect setup on the city side is not that easy anymore. You have to, you
can
can't
just wait.
simply use it. Yeah, now you just
Yes,
wait,
you
and
can.
then you have
Yeah.
the easy solution right for that. So you have to, adding more time will force the city to adapt to that. And so it gives somehow an easy solution if the city is played that way. But it also creates more opportunities for the city to rethink how they have to approach their side and their way to play the city side in general. So that's why, to me, it's good, and that's where I see the difference between the old timer and the new timer. Like with the new timer, it's easy to counter that kind of play by just waiting, and then you're gonna have no smokes at 30 seconds, and 30 seconds you can do whatever you want. So before, with like 20 seconds, you have to come into the good bomb side and make the good gamble, and like, yeah, maybe we're lucky. So that's where those 10 seconds make an extra difference to me.
I mean, the Inferno is the most obvious map to talk about with this change, right? So that's why I feel with the old round time. So if teams go for that deep banana smoke, they would also maybe use 4 smokes for that, keep throwing it from A. If you're playing T side and you don't react to that, you just stay in your default and maybe just take caps control or something like that. But you're just waiting. You don't have a clear plan. Then by the time the last smoke passes, you're gonna have maybe 20 seconds.
Yeah, you had like 25 seconds.
Yeah, and if you don't have a good plan, if you don't get really good trades entering the bomb site, then you won't have enough. You'll just run out of time, as we saw Navi against Fnatic at Pro League, right? But now, as we talked about it, you just stick around, stay even when the 4 smokes pass. You have then enough time to do whatever you want. That's the problem for me.
So if we separate the issues, though, that's like the round timer. In terms of the bomb timer, so it sounds, FalleN, like you're also in favour of that change. Like you like the bomb timer being higher. Like this is the one where I haven't heard many people who liked that. So what were your reasons as to why you think it's better to increase the time?
I think it's just beauty to see a team doing a proper retake. I don't know if you guys watched it with Tempestorm against Cloud9, but that was a beauty. They were retaking A side against Cloud9. Really beautiful. Like they're smoking A man, they're mauling forklift, they're mauling quad, and they're just winning rounds. There was 4v3 or 3v4 easily because of that. So it changed everything. I mean, the T sides just can't hide in the side and wait for a bomb to explode, because if they have proper nades, they're gonna take you out of it. So change how you approach retakes and after plans. So I think this was good. But at the beginning I thought it would be bad because there it would be so difficult to manage that. But just in the end, you just can hide and say, okay, now cities have to come and I just need to crossfire and I'm gonna be all right. That's just not how it works anymore. So if from one hand you just lost a little because the T's are more powerful, as YNk said, and I agree with that. On the other, CTs now have more time to retake. So if they lose sides, they can still manage to win rounds. So I think it's a balance, So I like it.
NBK, are you with FalleN on this one? Because your team wins like all your rounds on the T side, mate. So you're in favour of the CTs having more time?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not against the change. As FalleN said, I think it's great to see good worked retakes on bomb sites. I think it adds again something new to the game that was not there, or like was not really there before, because the T's had just to hide in some corners, just like you said. And now with those 5 seconds, it changes almost everything. You have as simply as that, way more time to go and defuse the bomb and be rewarded for a good play. And to me, that's where, again, there is a kind of misconception. The T side can counter those retakes. They just have to play more forward. For instance, if we take the cash example, then if you want to counter the kind of plays, you have to let 1 or 2 lurkers, like if you take the bomb side and there is no one, even though you have no gear anymore, you just take one of the terrorist guy, push it back with the lurker in the middle, and then you just block short from there. Or you just try to make a play, try to block a space where the cities cannot cover because they won't have enough gear, because they have to cover the B bomb site, smoke, watch after rushes, etc. So to me, there's just, again, it's not nothing you can do about it. Like, you have theoretically the answers to that. It's just teams have not adapted well to that yet. And I'm just looking forward for teams to like completely do that as their game plan to have that ready.
I think this brings us another question as well. I mean, let's suppose A cache, A bomb site.
Yeah.
how fast have you hit this? Like, I mean, if you did some fast strategy, you're gonna have to face against smokes from the CT side. On the B side, you're gonna have to face against Molotovs. But if you had a slower approach, probably those nades have been gone because you worked well on the map in the beginning of the round. So I think this is how can I say? This is something that doesn't help the less EnVyUs style, like just rushing and killing people like too fast, like explosions. Because in the end, the other side will have a lot of utilities to use, and if you guys just hold and hide, you can take it out of this and retake. But like Nate said, you have options for that. You can push forward, you can try to get the kills instead of just riding. So adds more thing. So it's in the end you have a lot of point of views, and of course the only one opinion doesn't solve everything, but there's a lot of way to think.
The problem I have with this one, right? I mean, it's obvious the bomb timer change is there because of the round time change, right? To compensate that it's easier for the Ts, so now CTs have more time. For me, it's just a case of Val having a wrong approach to a right problem, maybe, because what you have now is, all right, let's say, for me, it's counterintuitive in a way, because the terrorist side, if the cities are not playing for a retake, if they're playing on the bomb side, so if the Ts get control of the site and plant the bomb, then they've done the hard part, right? That's the hard part, getting to the site and planting the bomb. In the after plan situation, it should be a bit easier for them, right? And now they're in a state, in a situation that even after they took control of the site, got the bomb plant, now they still have to go for a play. They can't just, I mean, you say play it safe. I mean, it's the tier 1 teams are, for them it's like maybe normal to have like to win a 2v2 after plant with good crossfires and good setup. Like lower tier teams, they're still, that's for me one of the biggest differences between great teams and good teams, how they play those 3v3 situations and so on. So some teams really struggle with it even before, when they had less time to defend and everything. So now I've seen a couple of times, CTs again just waiting a bit, playing more passively. I mean, they're holding angles, and then the Ts are just forced to peek because they don't know what's going on. They're maybe in a 2v3 and so on, and the CTs just get a last second defuse or something like that.
See, the funny thing is, the reason I was against the bomb change initially is because I'll admit, one of the hard things to do is separate like all the scenarios that can happen. So I actually mainly was usually thinking when a CT is left alone, like say a CT is 1v2 or 1v3, right? The problem is, from that scenario, I don't like the change. Like, I'll give you a great example, okay? So one of the best players in like a 1v3 type scenario, if he's on the CT side, is Crims. If he's coming into a bomb site on his own like that, the reason he's really good is because he's really good at like knowing which angle to check first, and then if he gets the first kill, he knows like, do I have to go quicker to get the second person? Can I go slowly and check each corner? And as a result, he has a really good like pace to how he tries to play out the 1v3. And as a result, he wins a lot of those scenarios that a lot of other players don't. I mean, there's a lot of players might start out the same 1v3 the same way Crims does, but maybe they take too long to kill the first person, or they try to check the wrong angle and it allows the terrorists to hide. So in that scenario, if you give those people more time, my perspective was you're just kind of making Crims' advantage less. I mean, the other person just gets more time to check every corner.
You had it last night in the game against EnVyUs on Inferno. He was in a 1v2 and he was just chilling out at Moto, kills a player through smoke just randomly, and then he's a 1v1 with Shox, and Shox is all the way in pit behind the truck, and he's like trying to play the time. He's just, oh no, it wasn't Shox. Why am I talking about? Someone was in pit, but
listen, I wish Shox is still EnVyUs as well. Yeah,
or it was against G2. I can't remember, but the thing is, there was a player in pit and he was playing it well, just peeking so that Crims needs to stop for a second. He was trying to buy time, but in the end, like, Crims just jumped on his head, basically gets the kill and gets a last second defuse. And for me, those like rounds are example where it's not a really good change, especially like also it's there for maybe when Ts go for a fake, so that CTs have the extra 5 seconds to run from one bomb site to another.
Yeah.
But when that's not the case, when they're already close to the bomb site where the bomb's planted, it's just so much time to, as you said, like clear the angles and so on, especially if you have still a couple of nades left.
Yeah. So, okay, here, FalleN, what YNk just said at the end there is what I want to ask you about. So he makes a really good point. That's another thing that was the reason why I was thought was critical of this change, is I thought to myself, what if it's a round, okay, let's say it's a round where it's like terrorists have 3 people and the CTs have 4, but the terrorist pulls off an amazing fake. Like he tricks the CTs on cash to thinking it's going to be B, but actually it's going to be A, and they go there with less numbers, and essentially they've done the really hard part. Like they've tricked the CTs into maybe having one person covering A, and they take the site, and now the CTs still just have extra time to just walk over. Like the fake, it's not as rewarded as much as it was before, you know, because you can just rush and you'll be able to get there maybe with time to do it. What do you think on this?
Yeah, I think you are right. I think from this point of view, this change is bad. I agree with you. But on the other hand, I think this change make everyone needs to try some plays. It's not about waiting anymore. Even if you're CT, if you just wait, it's going to be bad. If you're T, you just let the time pass, it's going to be bad because the CTs don't understand that if it's nothing happening on my side, I don't need to use nades. So in the end, everyone needs to be trying something. I think this is the good part. Because if everyone is just waiting, like it was in the past, like just throw 4 smokes here and wait, I think this is bad as well. So it has a lot of good points, a lot of bad points, and I agree with you. I think fakes are not that reliable anymore, and he lost some power on that. But I think I meant good for every point.
I mentioned that second round from NBK from cash from last night, right? So it was like tactically or strategically, it was basically perfectly played, right? They go to A site and it's empty. But Fnatic still end up, Apex was in a 1v2 and he just managed to get the kill on the bomb diffuser, and then Fnatic ran out of time. So of course it's Fnatic, they're all amazingly skilled players, they made some crazy shots, but that just tells you, so they managed to get into an empty bomb site and Fnatic still had the time to come back, you know, get the trades and almost like win the round with all of that. I think that round for me is like the perfect example of why this change is maybe, you know, a bit too much.
The thing is, I see it in a different way regarding that one. For instance, like to me, the prime doesn't come from the bomb timer or the fact that they had time to just retake the bomb site. To me, this prime, just like the 1 and 2 you were talking about before on Inferno, to me the prime comes earlier than that, and it's not linked. Like the bomb taking more time to explode allows the terrorists that have the bomb site to make more mistakes in a way.
Sure.
Because not to make less mistakes. Sorry, when I have the bomb site. And there is no like real easy or hard part in the game to me. Like holding a bomb site, if you are 3 on 4, has to be complicated. And the prime with the round we were talking about that we played against Fnatic, what was wrong? Was it because they had more time to come on the bomb site, so they were able to take over the bomb site, kill us, and defuse the bomb? Or did we just play that 4 on 4 or that 3 on 4 in a very fucking poorly way and getting killed before they even retook the bomb site? I just see it from a different point of view, and to me, the real problem was not the fact that the bomb was took a very long time to explode, but just that 2 on 1 or that 2 on 1 on Inferno that we're talking about, or that 4 on 4 were just poorly played because we had AKs and SMGs, and yet they were able to get some kills before they even came into the bomb site. So that means the guy at Forklift was challenging the guy at City Spawn and just got one digged, or all that kind of stuff. And that's where, to me, is the prime, and it's not related to the bomb timer in many ways.
But in the end, it's related because I think there is a connection, because you guys understand that just holding after planting the bomb is not enough. So you guys are still trying to make plays, but if you try too much, if you go too far, you're delivering the round. So that's
exactly the thing I'm telling my player. Take informations, don't fucking commit. And that's the problem a lot of players make, and that make them lose rounds in games. The other example was, to me, the CLG versus Gamers 2 game at Game Show League. CLG was able to retook the bomb sites 3 on 5, etc., etc. So like they made it, I don't know, 5-6 times in 2 maps. And the problem was that the terrorists were committing to every single duel they were taking. And so it was not like you have to take information, and then you come into a fight with another teammate where you're going to get a crossfire.
Take information but don't die, right?
Exactly. Like take information but don't fucking commit. Like just, oh, there are 2 CT. Okay, I'm going to just shoot 1 or 2 bullet. If he kills me while I'm just shoulder picking, great. I mean, good job on him. Like there's nothing to do. And if you just take the information properly, you're going to be able to let them enter into those crossfires. And to me, that's where you can solve that problem as a T, and that's why you have to just play a more beautiful Counter-Strike than just holding, waiting, let them rush into the bomb site because they have no time. So that just to me adds a layer to the,
I agree with you,
to
and
the
I think
game.
players that try to kill and resolve situations like this are not thinking the team, they're thinking on frags. That's what I say.
Yeah.
If you have a 5v3 and you're taking to kill one more to get a 5v2, you're not thinking on the team, you're not relying on trade kills, like you're not relying on it. So you're trying to deliver the game, in my opinion. But in the other hand, you have another teams, like so many teams, that they do exactly the opposite. They have a 5v3 and now of them are just scared to get info and scared to deliver the round because they don't want to be the guy that made the poor decision and lost the round for them. So they do the opposite and it's still bad. So the point is, what's the difference on being very wrong from one side or being very wrong from the other one? So players need to get up what is exactly measure they need to put on these rounds in order to don't be wrong on both ways.
I mean, my point for that round was, of course, always players can misplay, they can make mistakes, give a chance for the opposing team, and then they can just take it. But my point was that, okay, so you guys wasted also some resources on B to get that fake going, to and you did your job. You outsmarted them. You got, and you should be rewarded for that. By them having not enough time to go for the retake. So you managed to do all that, and still they can pull it back. I agree that probably it shouldn't have come to a 1v2 in the end because you had control of the whole bomb site, and but it was Happy died in connector and something like that, so they got the AK. But I mean, that was my point. It's not about what players do individually at that point, just that the game itself, you should be rewarded for what you managed to do strategically, right? Yeah, because then what's the point of faking, at all? Just use all your resources on one bomb site.
That's where I see the reward differently. I think the reward of making a good fake is that you have a clear bomb site and you still have, let's say, like one smoke, like maybe two smokes, and you have the reward on putting a timer into the round. They have 35 seconds if they have a kid, they have 30 seconds if they don't have a kid to make the whole rotation, come into those crossfires by being fucking confident. If they just run in and you have a good crossfire, they're all gonna die. To me, like, you have a reward, but it's obviously smaller than just, hey, look, you made a good fake, so here you have a free round and beat it. So I think it just, again, adds like a layer to the depth of the game, and so you don't have free rounds anymore. You have to fight for the rounds and play a more beautiful Counter-Strike for that. And then there are just obviously some situations where it's going to be unlucky if you lose a round because of the bomb timer, because he gets like a kill through the smoke or anything. But I just see in a way that most of the situations where cities play well and have the time to defuse, they kind of deserved to get there if they had a clean retake and they were just good into what they were doing. And even though you had a super good fake, I don't think the reward should be here, take this round. Like, I think there's still a little thing to do.
Here's the thing, I can actually see it from both sides. Like, I can see an advantage and a disadvantage on both sides. Like, for example, on YNk's side, one thing I really do agree with him is that one thing that is, especially in the older metas of CSGO where it was very CT-sided, if you can actually take over that site, like famously, if you can take the Inferno B site as terrorists, and maybe you lose 3 people, you lose 2 people, but if you can somehow get in that site and get the bomb down, which is very hard against teams like Fnatic and Virtus.pro and these sorts of teams, if you can do that, then the reward is, right now you're in control of the round. Like, they have a limited amount of time, they have to really make like gamble decisions. Do they go really slowly construction? If they do, they're going to lose the round if they don't immediately see you, if you're hiding correctly. Meanwhile, if they rush in through the smoke, if you've smoked it off, then they might just get fragged in the head. So basically, it's like all the difficult parts before the bomb is planted, and then it's like, then you get the advantage. Whereas if we just had the exact same scenario, but a higher bomb timer, it's like you have all that really hard time, and then you plant the bomb, and it's like, well, congratulations, now challenge 2 starts. Now you have to hold off a bomb site against 4 Fnatic players who are coming in, and you've got 3 places to hide. Like, so I can see that that's bad, but here's the thing. On the other side, I also kind of agree from, I think it was FalleN who said this. I kind of agree from his perspective as well, in a similar scenario, okay, which is, say you were in that situation where you are the person holding and you're trying to hold the site where you've planted the bomb. in the past, because there was less time for the bomb to explode, you actually also wouldn't get punished if you just peeked immediately. If you just, in the same site, B site on Inferno, if you're holding there and you do see a guy construction and you just take an aim duel with him and you go, okay, whoever gets the kill here is going to get the kill, we're just going to keep peeking, then he might still not be able to defuse the bomb anyway. Maybe he kills you, but then he has to find a teammate, then he has to find where the bomb is. Whereas if there's more time on the clock, if you peek immediately and he kills you, now your teammate might be like 2v4, 1v4, now you've just thrown the whole round away. So in a way, there's like a little bit of give and take. Like you do lose something in terms of the team concept, but I think it does punish individual players more. Because what FalleN's saying here is correct. It's like, well, I wouldn't describe it that the player who like peaks in that scenario is like wanting frags. I think it's more like that's usually the player who's not very smart. He's not a tactical player. So the easiest way to solve his problem is to just kill the opponent. If he kills the opponent, the round's almost over and he doesn't have to figure out this complicated dance of like, will the guy go behind me? Can I peek him again? Where will he come if I hide? Like he never has to do that. He can just kill the guy with a headshot. So that's the way like a not very cerebral player will solve the round. But obviously a great team who's doing a retake who are very intelligent can punish that player now. So I think there's something on both sides to it.
And there's also the factor that, I mean, this will maybe sound bad, but not all players are, capable.
You've just muted your own sound again. I don't know how you did that, but okay. Well done, YNk.
It died.
No, it's
you're
just,
back.
no,
You're back
no,
again.
it just lagged out for a second.
Yeah, sure.
So the point was not all players are capable of playing that smart way, unfortunately. So sometimes they just, from their own experience, know that when they try to do that, they just get killed because they can't do it correctly.
No, here's the thing.
It's better for me to just peek and maybe go for it, because otherwise I'm not going to be of any use for
That's
my
the
team.
thing, YNk. You're absolutely right there. Obviously, there are certain players, I mean, certain very, very good players, by the way, who the reason why they do that is because they're not that good at decision making there. So maybe if their aim's phenomenal, that is the way to solve the round. So, I mean, listen, you don't have to tell everyone in this chat about that. I mean, that's why, to me, the more I get to know about Luminosity's players, the more I like respect FalleN, because I think FalleN is like Professor X. He took all these like Wolverine type guys and like Beast and stuff, and he like somehow got them all to work as a team and to play smart. So he must just have like amazing mind control powers or something. I don't know what it is.
That's the thing, like, as I said, for me, that's the biggest difference between great teams and good teams, and great players and good players, right? I mean, even when I was playing my team, like, we obviously had a lot of problems, and that was one of the biggest problems for us. And I tried at one point when I was the in-game leader to maybe, make a plan, like, when we take side, these are the positions we want to take. And then I found out that was basically impossible, because every situation is so different. Like in Counter-Strike, it just has to be, the players have to have enough game sense, enough skill to realize, okay, this is what the situation is. My teammates are here. We, this and this. So the best thing I can do is, X or Y, and it's different almost every time.
I also think, just to tie this other point in, since on the round timer issue, you made the point, which is correct, which is that teams could have actually done all this stuff a long time ago in terms of trying to like bait out all the smokes early on and then just attack anyway. Teams could have done that, they just didn't, because everyone was like lazy with the metagame. It's actually similar with the retake thing, which is that I've always thought it's amazing how few amazing, like think about how many really, really skilled players never save a nade for a retake. They just throw the nade in the first 20 seconds of the round, and then they think, right, well, I have to win a retake by headshotting everyone. If you look at most of the players who save the nade or the flash, it's always the in-game leader. It's the guy who's like the smart player who's thinking about what will I do in this situation, and they know that that grenade is super valuable if you're in a 1v2. That might literally win you the whole round, whereas if you can't flush them out, if you can't do anything to neutralize the opponent, if you really have to headshot them, the less skilled player can't win the retake to some degree.
I agree. Like, I mean, again, take Inferno for an example. B side, you have Evo and the New Box squad that are like, when you have two Ts, that's like the go-to places for them. And if you have a Molotov save, you completely neutralize those spots. That they have to move at that point. So I agree. I feel that Counter-Strike in the last year has become so much more competitive, or maybe even 2 years, that now these little things matter much more, and teams have to pay attention to everything to get that small edge against their opponents.
FalleN, since we've got NBK here, a lot of people, think I like drama or something. I don't. I just like to have interesting, different personalities meet each other and just discuss things, have like interesting conversations. So I've got a question for you. If your team, it's such a beautiful Counter-Strike to watch. It's so tactical. When you win a round, like even the round Nako was talking about that you lost against Fnatic on Inferno at Face It, at Starladder. Like I agree with it. I could see how the initial part of the tactic was correct, actually. It's just that they fragged you, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're someone who likes like beautiful Counter-Strike like this, where it makes sense and everything's logical, do you actually like to watch EnVyUs terrorist side?
Yo, it's actually, the problem is it's too much because they were using it every single time, but it's beauty. I mean, it's very smart. I learned a lot from those guys, being honest. I think every team should, because if you know how, that's what we're doing, in my opinion. If people analyze us, we are trying to mix Navi style with Envy style, because we can play slow, but suddenly we can do an Envy play, and if you are just thinking or playing yourself like we are just going slow, this time you're going to be crushed, and there is nothing you can do about it because you're not ready for that. So I mean, when we were watching EnVyUs last season or something, they were doing like 15 rounds in a row, and yeah. I remember the game in Cobblestone, they did a Beast Blood like 15 rounds in a row. Like casters were like, maybe they will change now, and they didn't. Nope. They just did the same thing. But yeah, it's like it's a strat, and if it's working, so why not? That's the point. So it's beauty. I like the way they play, but I think it was too much. And in the end, I think they realized that as well. I think EnVyUs is changing, and I think they're trying to get new styles for them as well, because you can win everyone every time doing one single thing. You need to adapt, man. So it's beauty, but it was too much, in my opinion.
NBK, what do you think?
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, the style of Happy is unique, and I think his real strength, like opposite to what the pleb is saying on all the forums, etc. But Happy won a lot of games by his reads and his whole tactical approach of the game. The big thing he brought was obviously his very fast and packed metagame, with all the tactics that were just like 4 or 5 people with set smokes just rushing together, and it looked like a rush, like take your AKs and go kill people. But there was always, like, he was not really explaining to us, because he wanted it to be secret, I don't know. But
for his own players.
But he was just
that's
like,
next level, okay.
Do this, you're gonna kill people, trust me, and that's good. And then he was just doing that over and over for every single game.
But
so there was no analysis. Yes.
Even if it was kind of a rush, in the end you always had 1 or 2 guys entering and 1 guy supporting, right? So, in my opinion, EnVyUs was doing the basics of every single entry, but really fast. Like they had 1 flash, people were jumping, getting space, 1 or 2 guys trading, and then they had a good lurker, because Happy was a very good lurker, so he could, even if you die 1 or 2 guys entering, he could compensate in the back because he was doing his role properly. And then you have KNS, because the players created space for him and they can get extra kills. So I mean, it was fundamentals, it was not random, but they were forcing it very, very fastly every single round in every map. So
yeah, basically I think we just have a bit different strength than other teams. Like we have a basically double entry fragger meta with Apex and me, so we can go on to 2 sides of 1 bomb site and just be able to get entries, and then it's going to create something on the bomb site. And I think Happy was exploiting that.
Yeah. Wait a second, what was the end of your point there, MBK? Like you just said, like you just made the point about how you had a double entry frag set up where you could like crush a site, and I think that's where you cut off. So just pick up there if you can.
Yeah, so we had a double entry setup that we still have with Apex and me, and so no matter what, whether we are 4 on 1 choke point, we can like either we're 4 on 1 choke point, or like 2 in 2-2 on like 2 sides of the bomb site. So let's say Quad and Arch and Inferno. We have high chances of getting an entry, and then you just have to have the guys behind us cleaning the bomb sites and making the end of the round, basically. And now that's just something we're trying to change. And Happy was just relying on his calls, his instincts, and making things right, with the strength of, hey, listen, we're going 4 to a bomb site. If you're not perfectly placed, you're going to lose the round because we have the bomb site, and then we played well, and we just have to hold it. And that's what we're trying to change. First of all, our city sides became completely dog shit. Like, we were trying to play with the basics on city sides, and we were just fucking terrible. And we're trying to change all those kind of things. And as FalleN said, and he's trying to do with his team, every team is trying to be more complete and have different styles into how they approach the game. And that's what's hard, because first of all, some in-game leaders don't have the ability of putting rhythm into the game, to me, which is one of the, if not the most important thing on your T side and CD side. Just putting rhythm into the game. So fast, slow, and then you think it's slow and then you go fast. And like all that mind game that you have against another team, and just being able to outplay, and to me that's where the outplay comes. If you go fast into, like in the final against Dignitas of Game Show, I told my team, listen, rush B, first gun run, we win it. And then we just go slow B when they were force buying, and then we re-rush B, and they were thinking in their mind, yeah, at some point they're gonna come A, so they kept on stacking the A side, and we're just going B with a simple thing through a smoke,
Classic
etc.
canvas.
And then so yeah, exactly. And so you just use that into, and like the first half of the side would just B rushes, and then the other half would just control the map, take the spots, go slow, be simple, be just clean, and
I think your team is one team to be feared, because you guys already know how to play the old style, and the old style is required. I mean, you need to know how to play the style. So as soon as you guys learn the other one, and you crush some teams using the other style, then they're gonna say, okay, so we can lose to both EnVyUs style. So which one is gonna be now? Because the recent past, what was happening is that people knew how you guys would play, so they figure it out and they were ready for it. So that's why it stopped working for a while. But if you guys came with one or two new setups that is a little different from the other one, you guys are gonna start crushing everyone again, because your team is just so good. And if people can really well, you guys are gonna win a lot of games. That's my opinion.
For me, the best example of EnVyUs and how their style was so good was the Cologne Major, because that's when you could see them time and time again on different maps, catching people off guard. You know, players were holding smokes in their hands, you know, at the beginning of the round, trying to save them and so on Inferno, on Mirage, and they would just explode together on site. They were literally getting free entries into the site just for being so explosive, and you know, because that wasn't the meta game, as Nathan mentioned. People were waiting and trying to, you know, get those smokes later and everything, and that's how they crushed Navi, like on Mirage as well, which was the map I think EnVyUs didn't play up until that point. It was, of course, one of Navi's best maps, and they completely destroyed them with that fast entries and so on. But I agree that the best way, in my opinion, also to play T-side now is like to change pace, to sometimes play it fast, sometimes play it slow. That in that way teams can't get a read on you. They don't know what you're gonna do. They have to waste their nades earlier.
And then on the other hand, it just puts more pressure into the in-game leaders, because they are the ones that have to read the situation and be able to like tell the team to like, yeah, control the map, just don't get rushed. If the cities are trying to peek, you just have to kill them if they enter your crosshair, etc. And so that's where, like, linked to the to having more time, the common sense would say, yeah, just stay super passive, wait for the smokes, and then go together into the bomb site, or just play together. And that's where you can break it in many ways, by just making a super fast tactic with like one flash, one smoke, boom, clean the bomb site, 5 players together. And that's where you can also, and that's where later into the half, you just wait, and then they're gonna think you go fast, and then boom, you don't. And that's why I like having that layer that is gonna differentiate the teams even more into who are the really greatest into the games, who are the in-game leaders that have the good mind and know how to adapt to the metagame, or break it by bringing something new. To me, this new thing being the retake.
You just gave me an idea, thanks, Nate.
Yeah, I have an idea that I'm gonna spit out on stream. That is me the next metagame. But to me, the next thing that we're gonna see and that teams are gonna start doing is just leaving one bomb site empty, or next to empty, just taking informations, stacking the other bomb site, and then having some weird retakes with smokes, muddies, flashes that you can make, and just playing off of that. So if they come on the bomb side where you're stacked 5 players, or 4.5 or whatever, then they're gonna hit a brick wall, because you're gonna be.
What do you mean 4.5? How can there be 4.5 players in the game? Explain what that means.
If a drag is on your team,
if you have 4.5,
okay,
you know,
my bad, yeah.
No, but if you have one player taking information on the other bomb site to know where they're coming, so
Right, but he's
really
not fully playing in the site himself.
Exactly, yeah. He's just like taking information on the other bomb site. And to me, that's where the metagame is going to go at some extent, and where that's how I see the next break of the metagame, and with teams coming with such things. To be able to like pick some kills through smokes or like through work tricks, and just then fall back and then play that retake thing, and just save your gear, be solid on one bomb site, and then just like go onto the other bomb site with like
That's doable on Cobblestone. On Cobblestone, we actually 2 majors ago we thought about doing something like this. We could just stack 5 B guys and one guy just be door looking for mid and long A, and we were trying to figure out 4 or 5 smokes that we could throw to retake A. We never bring this idea to work, but it's something that we're talking about. But another idea is how many nades can you throw to fake your rushing in order to make the news back? Let's talk about Train. If you send a Molotov close to the hell, close to Ivy from mid, and a couple of flashes and a smoke mid, probably one Molotov, 2 or 3 flashes and one smoke mid, how many nades you're gonna take away from the CTs just because of that? Because they think it's an A rush. So that's something to think as well. Like, how can you fake your rushing just to make them lose their nades? That's something people didn't think in the past. I think it's coming to happen again.
Yeah, exactly. It's to me, it's again another layer that is brought. Like just, I mean, we call it in French just making the cities spit their smoke. So because it's, I don't know French words, but you just find ways to just scare the cities off, to just throw the smokes, throw their mollies, etc. Be like, hey, maybe we're gonna rush B. Watch out. You know, we can do it. So maybe we're gonna do it, and then play off of that. And so that's where either the cities have to be smarter and just take information in a different way, or the Ts have to just like commit sometimes and like put that fear into their opponents, and then the retake can happen, and you can counter the retake possibility, because if you have, let's say, a perfect retake as a city on a bomb site that you're going to win 90% of the time, you have a counter as a terrorist. The counter being you save all your smokes for when the cities are going to retake, and like you just go balls into a bomb site and just YOLO into it, or you just put fear into the cities by going aggressive on the bomb site where they're stacked, force them to use gear, and then just go back on the empty side and play the clutch from there. So I think that's where it's interesting to have new things that can come up and new ways to approach Counter-Strike that was not really.
I am pretty excited to the season. I need to watch more matches from the Euro season. I think you guys bring a lot to the game always. And actually, I didn't have time to watch because the time is still different. I'm always sleeping when you guys are playing, but I need to catch up. And I'm excited to what is coming. I think you guys are going to bring a lot of new stuff, and I'm ready to steal it.
FalleN, when you say about as a general idea, this idea that teams should be able to play like both styles, like the slow tactical style and then the fast, like hit the site before people are ready, and you go like it's still a tactic. It has the fundamentals, like you say, like people have the role within the tactic, but you're going faster, right? That the whole reason why everyone doesn't just play all styles is because not every team can do it, obviously, and obviously it's more difficult in certain scenarios. So some teams are, like Navi's very famously super slow, and they always do that slow take over every area of the site and unfold the game. It is a bit easier to do the super fast rush style when you have like Apex running and just headshot the first 3 people, right?
Yeah, you need to have a good entry killer, and you need. Actually, I don't think it's. If you always lose the first kill and maybe you die with the second guy, then it doesn't work. So the thing is, you need to have a good entry killer, or at least the trade. I mean, with Apex, it's crazy because often he get the first and the second kill. So I mean, he wants the round for
cheating,
itself.
right?
It's called back.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have like a let's suppose us. I think if you look for tackle stats, he probably is not a entry killer like Apex, but we have someone trading with him. So for the basics, for the good Counter-Strike, is working. So this is important because Taco is at least creating space, which is important. Getting info and ping the guy that dies so you can trade it and continues the round. From that perspective, he's a very excellent player because he's making it happen. It would be better if you get the kills and he get it sometimes, so it is even easier. But if you always die and if the guys always take the second kill, then it's not working. So I think every team could do that. I don't think every in-game leader or every team is thinking this is important right now. So it's something they need to add, because when I'm playing North American teams, I think what's happening is they still are using the same style for every single round. They're not changing the pace, they're not changing the style, so it's easy to read, and they're making some mistakes. That's why they are improving. I think the North American teams need to understand that they need to be a little more unreadable. I mean, they need to change pace and do it with properties, do it with the good chemistry. So this is something they need to adapt in order to become better teams, in my opinion.
So Yanko, it's backfired on me, mate. I thought by bringing FalleN in, we'd be able to crush NBK in the EnVyUs style. Now he's telling me everyone needs to start learning to play that style, mate. Come on, Yanko. What are we going to do here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Duncan, but like the best way is to mix it. It's no one way is, you know, the best way to. You can't win by playing the same thing over again, as FalleN said. The problem is once I think that the way Counter-Strike works now is that if you know what your opponent's setup is or what they're going to do, you can always counter it, right? I mean, there's no perfect setup that's going to win you the round every time, because then the game would be broken, right? The hard part is like getting the right read, getting the information either through map control or from your players giving you some feedback and so on. So if you know that EnVyUs is gonna flash through a smoke and run in, you can counter it, you can beat them every time. But the difficult part is when you have to guess, but they can do both, and you're like, oh, should I throw my smoke now if maybe they're gonna rush in really quickly again, or do I save it because they can slow it down? So that's the tricky part.
Just a note. Do you remember when Cloud9 did very, very well some tournaments? That's why when Shangar started doing this kind of strats from nowhere, that's where he got everyone off guard.
And
that's where they would
he just kept doing the same strat over and over again until it works. Like you said, Nathan, on B side, just right, like they would do that. Let's say on Cobble, they would just rush B and they would keep doing it until they lose a round, and then they would maybe do something else, because that's when the mind games kick in. The opponent thinks, oh yeah, they did this, now they're not gonna do the same thing, and so on.
If you look for the Cloud9 that did a good run on 2 or 3 tournaments, you're gonna see the same stuff you see from EnVyUs. I mean, if you look to Cloud9 back in the days, you have a good entry killer, you have Freakazoid, as I said, at least getting space. You have the trade kills with Shroud, and man, you have Skadoodle. When you put Skadoodle in the right position, he's unbeatable. Like, if you put Skadoodle on some place, he just don't miss a shot. So even if your entry killers wasn't that good, if you didn't get so many kills, he's going to compensate. So Cloud9 did the same stuff EnVyUs was doing, changed the pace, and got everyone off guard. I remember when I played Cloud9 on SWC on Overpass, we got crushed at 16-4. We hasn't expect this kind of plays. They just came monster from nowhere, rushing everyone. Not rushing, but suddenly, flash and boom. Then they go A ramp, I don't know how you call it in English, but A long, and then from nowhere, they just boom, because we have no info. So that's the match when I realized, okay, it's not about playing safety, it's about having info, because if I don't have info, I can be exploited with plays like this. So that game was a learn for me, because I realized that I would be crushed for every team that does these things if you don't have info. And then that's up to the defeats, you know. You're always learning something, and that game against Cloud9 taught me a lot back to days.
I mean, it's what Nathan said, the way he looks at the CT side, like being a weak T side. In my opinion, just how the game works, you can't, no matter if you're T or CT, if you lose map control, like if you lose mid control on Mirage, you have to react, you have to do something somewhere else, because, you know, the good teams are going to punish you for it, because they have an execute in place. Yeah. Right, you know, a lot of teams are good at it right now on T side, Luminosity, Navi, and so on. A lot of things can punish you for it, so you need to react as CT. You maybe need to push ramp, you know, get a kill there, or push A apps, try to get map control somewhere else, so then, you know, you can get more positions you can play from, and it's like that on every map. On Mirage, on Inferno, it's maybe banana. On Cash, it's mid or A main.
Yeah, you mentioned about Mirage. We played EnVyUs on Mirage. The problem with EnVyUs back in the days is because when they got mid control, they played so fast going A that we didn't have to think too much about what's going to happen, because we were new. Okay, they got mid control. Now it's link. Now it's connector. Just the shot. So that's why, if you do the same thing every time, it's not going to work, because people already knows what's happening. Yeah. So that's what I think Nate should work with his team. I think they were working on it already, because when we played then on Mirage, the game we just started and get the wins, we knew that every time they got mid control easily, they just came connector trying to get more kills and just split A. So we're ready for that. And that's exactly what happened in the game. So that's the thing. Every single style works as soon as your enemy doesn't knows it, and you're not doing the same thing ever, because does not work everly. forever.
So do you think that Na'Vi needs to put more fast rounds in, because they are like the most famous team forever in being that slow style?
I think they
right?
did. Yeah, I think they did. That's why they never beat Fnatic. They can't beat Fnatic. They just won't beat Fnatic if they play like this forever, in my opinion. They need something different to beat them.
I think they're also starting to do it. Like, as far as I've seen on train on some rounds, they like to go for an early fast play on B to put pressure on the city, so that maybe they have to play with 2 players on B, so then later on they do one of their slow defaults on A or something like that. I think they're also trying to switch it up.
Yeah, they're trying. The thing is that it's still pretty narrowed down. Like, you know that if they're waiting, they're not gonna make a stupid thing behind it. You know, sorry, if they go quite fast. You know, they're rarely making fakes or like very weird ones, or they just come in very fast with a tactic and they're hitting the bomb site. So it's still pretty narrowed down. There's no real explosion. Like you see it coming in general, and there's still like
the same style, right? But faster.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same tactics, the same ending of the. I mean, when they're ending the rounds, it's the same idea, but they just do it earlier into the round, and so they still like, to me, that style of waiting and then one flash, boom, exploding. Yeah, explosion.
Really, yeah.
Well, that's the funny thing is, if you, because obviously Na'Vi have the most set style probably ever in CS:GO. They were even playing this style in like early 2014, but they just had worse players, so they weren't as successful. What's funny is when they used to do that style before, people always used to say like, "Oh, it's so stupid," you know. Everyone knows if they're setting up for an A site attack on Inferno. But I used to say, yeah, but to be fair, they do get a lot of T rounds considering they do that style. So they are really good at executing from it. And the key thing is, when they take the control of the map, they usually do make pretty good decisions on where to attack from then. So it's like, even though you know roughly what's coming, you don't necessarily know exactly what's coming. But to tie into what FalleN said, I kind of agree. I think that's why Fnatic always beat them, because to me that Fnatic core is like the best I've ever seen on like adaptive CT side, like knowing when to rotate the man over to the site where it's going to be, or when to push the 2 people who are at the other site up to flank behind. And so they were always like, it's not that they would just, it's not they like hard counter whatever Na'Vi's going to do, but they are like making the best reaction to it again and again. That's going to give you a good chance
as well,
to win.
Duncan. I remember at Dust 2 against Na'Vi, Fnatic versus Na'Vi Dust 2, first gun round, Dennis got a boost catwalk.
This is the Pro League,
rushed it. Yeah. I think it was the Pro. I don't remember which one. It was a final. First gun round, 3-0 Fnatic CT. I think Olofmeister boosted Dennis. He rushed catwalk, went to the spawn. He killed 2 of them. So I mean, when you play like Na'Vi, you are playing based on everyone ability to hold, right? So everyone needs to hold and not die, get info and maybe kill, or let Guardian kill some people while he's trying to open fights. But when this doesn't work, when you can exploit and make them fail, it's like their confidence goes way down. It's like, oh, this is not working for us now. Now we just can't hold. And then it's where I think Na'Vi can't beat Fnatic, because they just can't go to other style. They just can't surprise Fnatic anymore. And they're not confident on their hold anymore. Okay. So Fnatic is a specialist on that. They can just hurt where it bleeds you more. Like Na'Vi wants to take a slow approach to the game. First gun round, then it's just get off. Guys, this is not working. We're rushing every time if you do that. And then they never rush again. But Na'Vi is worried about every single round about a new rush, you know? And they just don't rush again because Fnatic knows that they don't need it anymore. And actually it was 7-0 this game. And the only round that get Na'Vi kind of back to the game was when JW picked mid for no reason and tried to get a kill again. And then Guardian killed him and back to the game. So all Fnatic had to do is, guys, we know what they're doing. Sorry, this is not going to work, and then fell back and let them do their holds and lose a lot of time, and then got the proper kills because Fnatic is good on everything, right? So every team needs to adapt and knows how to play, and that's why I think Fnatic is one of the best in the world, if not the best right now, because they can do it. They can read you, they can make you feel your game is not working. Like when we practice Fnatic in the first boot camps, we're crushing Fnatic on some practices. Because they were trying to pick, they're trying to get kills, and we can beat Fnatic, we're playing well. And then when it comes to the live game, they just fell back. And every kill we're finding in practice, we just couldn't anymore. And then we didn't have enough things to work on and beat them. You know, so Fnatic is an excellent team on that kind of things, in my opinion.
Like an hour, like 2 hours.
Do you feel? I think you guys are going to disagree with me on this one, but I feel that sometimes you can just play the game, play the map instead of your opponent, right? I feel that sometimes even if they might be waiting for you, or even if they know what's coming, that you can just, you know, take the round because of how the game works. Let's say on Cobblestone, right, on your T side, if the CT is force buy, so they don't have a lot of grenades, smokes, and so on. It's really hard to stop like a B rush or a B split as City if you don't have grenades. So even if you do that and you have 4 players there, let's say, waiting for you, I think you can still win more rounds than you will lose, simply because you have then long ranges. You can clear maybe a couple of short ranges with Molotov or something like that, and still you have an advantage to win the round, even if they're waiting for you. Do you agree?
Depends on the map. I mean, I think that's like a pretty good option, because obviously, I mean, you've literally picked like the best site to attack as any terrorist team there, Janko. So you kind of cheated a little bit, mate. But I do agree with the general principle. Yeah, it's true. It's going to be very hard for pistols to win that, even if they have a perfect setup almost. So NBK, I want to bring you on the topic I had before, though, because here's the thing. Like, Janko can wax lyrical about Navi's style. I can say how great it is. FalleN can say, like, oh, they need to do some more fast tactics. But this is where you can defend Na'Vi, right? Because you know that it's impossible to stop Na'Vi T-side tactics, right, NBK? I mean, I've been watching the last few tournaments, and you guys are still trying to figure it out.
Let's say we've been absolutely fucking destroyed. I guess that's the
What is so
right
good
approach.
about that style, do you think? Against you, at least.
I don't really know. I mean, obviously, I kind of feel bad talking about what Navi should improve, because they were destroying us lately.
Don't give them any help.
Sorry?
Don't give him any help.
Hear because Janko's mic, I think, is on, so I have some Skype fucking problems. Yeah, now I can hear you, because when someone is talking, I cannot hear
Keep going, mate.
the other
Keep
person.
going.
So yeah, I think the problem we had with this team, with the second version, was there are some teams we were never able to adapt against. Those teams at the beginning of the team were now Gamers 2, so Thorin before, NIP, and Navi. So we won against Navi at the 2 majors, but that was literally the only 2 tournaments where we were able to beat them pretty convincingly.
Yep.
Aside from that, all the other tournaments, Navi just got the good numbers on us. They're just destroying us, and I think it just comes from they are approaching the game differently when it comes to our team, or they just basically counter us by playing their style. That some players like Apex and Kenny are like super active into the game, so they try to make stuff happen. They try to peek, be aggressive. And against a team like Navi that is just sitting back and waiting for people to come into the crosshair, they're gonna die, and then we're gonna lose confidence and so on, and then we're just gonna get destroyed. Same thing happened against NIP. When we played them, they just know how to counter either some players or the general style. And that's where I think the change of in-game leader in our team is going to be useful, because I'm trying to adapt more to the other teams. Like, I have some notes ready on a lot of teams, and we're just basically going to adapt to everyone with our style that I'm trying to make bigger, and like having different things to counter them. And the true thing against Navi, about Navi, is that I think they're kind of a tilting team. So if you, as FalleN said before, and I think he's right, if you break their classic approach to the game, so like their control map style, if you break it, they're going to try to compensate, and often overcompensate by just rotating the players that cannot hold into a complete other bomb site. So if you take the information, there's going to be no one there, and you can just play off of that and rotate the city players. And so that's where I think the weakness of Navi is on the first hand. They lack of that adaptability in their map control, where sometimes you just have to fight the opponents. If you cannot hold a spot or an angle, or one player cannot do it, you just throw 3 players at the beginning of the round, control the zone, and then fall back and continue the thing normally. And then aside from that, yeah, their T-side against us is just very good. Like, it counters us. They have good setups, good team play. They know each other very well, and they know what they're doing into the classic. So
yeah, I got to relate. It's like when a cheat knife something. Of course, it's our opinion about where they could win, and we're trying to say something, thinking every team wants to be the best, right? And every time we're looking for a Fnatic, of course, Navi is incredible. Their game, what they can do holding is not every team in the world that can do the same. Like, I mean, even we can, I guess. They are very, very good on that, because their players have these strengths. And I think if they try to do the same style EnVyUs use, probably they don't have the same strengths, So that's something they should be trying to look. And also for Nate's team, I think Nate's team should be learning more to hold, and because when you hold, it's not about you being the guy that decides the round. It's about the team as a unit later winning the round. So that's the main difference. So it's up to the teams trying to get even stronger. And I think we're living a very good moment in Counter-Strike, because you can see some very different styles working against each other, trying to get what the other one has from good, and trying to decide which one they can adapt and are used for them. So it's a very good moment of Counter-Strike, in my opinion. I'm liking it.
Yanko, everyone always compares EnVyUs and Fnatic, because both lineups have like all these skilled players in, and now Fnatic went more towards this like the 4-spy style and playing like the EnVyUs style. Why do you think it is then that Na'Vi always beats EnVyUs, but Fnatic is always beating Na'Vi? Like what could EnVyUs do differently that they would win some of these CT rounds, or they adapt to the Na'Vi style? Come on, Yanko.
Give us the answer. Come on, please. I want to know.
I mean, it's always different. Some teams struggle against certain play styles. I feel that Fnatic is the best team in the world because all of their 5 players have such a good understanding of the game, and they can just react to things on the map more quickly than basically anyone. And I think Pronax put a really good system in place that now, even if he's not there, he still is credited for a lot of things.
The ghost of Pronax is still running the team.
Yeah, but when it comes to Na'Vi and EnVyUs, Na'Vi was really close to beating Fnatic on several occasions as well. So, only by the skin of their teeth did Fnatic manage to beat them in Pro League, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
And when you look at the game in Minsk, I think like those early force buys just wrecked Envy, because I mean at that point they were a team who lives and dies by those force buys, right? If it goes their way early, then they can crush an opposing team. But if they lose it, especially on they played Cobble and Train, especially on those maps, and especially against a team like Na'Vi, who's really good when they have good economy, when they have all their nades, and when they have a good start, then they can play with you, bait you and do fakes and so on. I think that for EnVyUs, the main thing is for them to not rely as much on those early force buys and so on, which is obviously they're trying to do right now. They're working on it. So it's what both Nathan and FalleN were talking about. It's like trying to get more depth in your play, right? Not rely on just one thing, because then you can be countered. And now I have to leave you, boys. I've got to go earn that 6 gorilla,
Well, you fixed NBK's team, so
yeah, that
you
was
can go now,
easy.
Yanko.
I didn't know it was that simple. Thank you.
Your job is done, mate.
I'll pay you later.
Okay, so the Serbian has left us. It's just us 3 now. So here's a question I have for you. I want to talk a little bit more about EnVyUs, but I want to ask this question. So NBK, EnVyUs has had a bad couple of months where, I mean, this is what's bizarre. Even in the bad couple of months, you still wrecked Fnatic a few times, which no one else is doing. So you still had some performances that were good, but before that, obviously you weren't making finals, you weren't winning the tournaments, and now you won this game show tournament. But what was different about winning the game show tournament was it was Kenny S. Kenny S was like carrying the whole tournament again. He was having all these awesome maps again. He looked like old Kenny S to some degree. Like he wasn't afraid to pick up the AWP all the time. Has something changed about how he's being used? Is there any reason for this change, do you think?
Regarding Kenny S himself, nope, because the game plan we have is roughly the same. He just had very good games and he played well. He played with the team and all that kind of stuff. Like he wanted to really bring a good and clean game to the whole system. And yeah, like on an individual level, he played good, but the team at this tournament had a very rough start with the first 3 best of 3s, where we played very, very sloppy, and it was not great to play like this, to have a kind of team playing for itself and players just wanting to be there to headshot. But I mean, Kenny had a very good tournament, and I think he was inclined into working well with the team, and that's what made him play so well. Being able to play off of your teammates, especially with his role, because of he's supposed to be the main carry / sniper.
Yeah.
And he was able to understand well what I wanted from him, and playing well in all those clutch situations, and playing well with his teammates.
Because the thing is, here's the gap I kind of see in EnVyUs right now, where there could be an improvement. So FalleN's saying, if EnVyUs, it's not that you have to like switch it up and become Na'Vi. Obviously, that, like he said, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't fit your style. But if you added in a bit more of the style, where you try and take over a bit of the map and you go a little bit slower, well, if you think of some of the teams, like obviously Na'Vi's a great example because they've got Guardian. Part of why they do that is because they want to set it up so that Guardian can have like an area he can go into where he's not going to get fragged by 3 people. He just sets up for his shot and then he opens the site that way. Well, I think of the old Titan when they had Kenny S in, and this was one of the things they were really good at. They'd set up the tactics so that Kenny S could get the opening shot, they could go into the site, and they would be able to use the sniper. So if you have this sniper, I know at the moment, in the last version of EnVyUs that had him in when Happy was the in-game leader, it felt like he was never really used in a set way on Terra's side like that. Like sometimes he was just a rifle player. Is this something you can actually do? Is he going to be like a dedicated AWPer again, or is he still just going to be half and half? What do you think?
I mean, he can take the sniper pretty much whenever he wants. It's up to him to master his own economy. And I'm not going to build the game around it, because what happened, like by experience in the other French teams, it already happened where we just wanted to build the game around Kenny. And and the best example being Titan at the beginning of 2015. They put all their game around Kenny and having Kenny to carry the team and get all the kills, and he got everything. So first of all, it's not really reliable, because if Kenny is on an off game, what's the plan B? Sure. Like, what are you going to do?
Well, I mean, you're right there. The problem there, obviously, was in the early Titan. There was a while where he just never had an off game, so we didn't figure that out. We thought it was a good style.
Exactly. So we were like, yeah, maybe it works. And to me, the only way for it to work was the style that Titan had with Cuddy before in the double sniper metagame, where they were excellent at it. And to me, that's the only way to make it really work if you want to play and go all in on a player like this. And now it's not in the plan. When we're controlling the map, making basics, we're using Kenny a bit more with a sniper, because he has obviously strength that other players don't. But we're not building the game around him. I mean, you can't really do that to me for any teams, because back at the very beginning when we talked in Reflections, the concept of the very first version of Envy was to get a Fnatic style team where 5 players can think for their own and outplay the opponents just on their own, because one player can make a whole difference. So it's just, to me, in the metagame, it's not possible to count too much on one player. And Luminosity has it as well. You have Cold is like I mean, I just checked his rating of all the tournaments he made since he joined Luminosity, and it's just crazy. But you have all those players. To me, the most underrated player in Luminosity, I don't think he fits really underrated, but FNX, I find him very impressive. He is the creams of Brazil, pretty much. He's like very, very rock solid, getting all the clutches, etc. And then you have FalleN as the great sniper of the team. So you have, like, you don't have one player stepping out that much.
Yeah, you don't centralize the game on someone needing to have the skill or something. Yeah.
And so you have all the strength spread in all the team. And before you could win games thanks to one player. The best example being NIP at the beginning of the game. Get right, going completely mental. Forest as well. So you could do that at the beginning because the teams were not good enough. But this time is over. You need to have your whole team being able to perform and play very well.
What do you think, FalleN?
Yeah, I agree. Right now, you need to work as a unit, or you need to surprise your opponent. That's pretty much all. Or you work as a unit and you try to get space and try to do the right entry in the end of the round. Or even if you set up a strat where you already know what you're doing and maybe do it fast, it needs to be very coordinated. You have to be with proper roles, with people understanding. Like, let's suppose we're mentioning some time ago some maps like Cache. When you enter A side, you have to understand that you need to have one guy at forklift. Because if you don't have one, maybe if you set up, let's suppose on our team we set up Fair a lot to go forklift. But when he dies, everyone understands that someone else needs to go because this position is important. So it's not about only Fair being there, it's about one of your team being there. So you either work as a unit or you surprise your opponent. That's pretty much how you can do right now to win Counter-Strike.
So I've got a question about your team then, FalleN, because when NBK was describing like the problems or the difficulties in being the leader of EnVyUs, one of the things is obviously culturally French people are different and the players he's played with have a different background to the players you have. In your team, from the outside, people think that FalleN took all these players and he like kind of molded them, like, okay, you're going to play in this way or I'm going to use you in this way. So it sounds like you have a lot more influence over your players than some of the other in-game leaders. Do you think this is true?
This is true, and the other thing is they have influence on me as well. I mean, I think it's the way I treat them, the way we treat each other. We are open to discuss things way better than most other people are. Because when you lose, it's not that we're looking for someone to blame. We're going to learn together. So even in practice, when someone does something wrong or something that we think is bad, we can mention, like, no problem. Oh, I think this play was bad because we could have done this. And the player itself took it in a good way. He said, yeah, maybe that's true. And that's happened to me too, because they, on the beginning when we started the team, they were looking for me to get this kind of fresh ideas and these things. And I know that I'm not always correct, you know. I had a lot to learn too, and I learned a lot from them as well. So for us, what kept us going and evolving is that every single game we play or lose or win, we have something to learn. Something that could be been done better and something that we didn't do the proper way. Like we played against Liquid recently for ESL season, and pistol run. We are doing a hit on overpass. We hold and then are going to set some smokes on A, and two of our guys, Fer and Cold, instead of planting the bomb and just covering and falling back to the bathrooms, they tried to peek close to bank, and both of them died. And when we were watching it, it's not like I was, Cold and Fer, why you guys did that? Why did you guys pick there? That's why we lost. No, it was just, guys, you guys understand, we smoked this area, this is not to pick. You guys know that, so why did you pick? Right, we were wrong. So they accepted, you know. It's easier when people accept they did something wrong and they just move to the next one. I guarantee you next pistol round, they won't do the same if you do the same strat, you know. So this is how we evolve, I guess. And being humble and learning from the others is what makes us keep going.
Okay. So an interesting thing, when we were talking before about how Fnatic at Starlad had beat Na'Vi, because famously on Dust 2, Na'Vi always want to go catwalk, and that was where Dennis played, and he had the crazy game, and he just shut them down completely. And basically, Na'Vi was like totally neutralized, and they had no chance in this game, actually. I've noticed whenever a Luminosity is playing, on CT side, even though Cold Zero ops a lot, he is opening like just his normal spots, you know, like he's just holding a spot and he just holds like a passive angle.
Yeah.
Whereas I've noticed whenever FalleN has the AWP on CT side, you always go for some sort of like super early pick, like you try to peek onto someone or try to like engage the terrorists. Is there a philosophy behind this? Why do you do this?
Well, I think it's more for style. Right? I think Code Zero is not a main AWPer, so he doesn't study his enemies to know where he can exploit their play style. So when it comes to me, I think as an AWPer, one of the things that's important is to try to get first kills, because first kills helps a lot. I mean, if I get a first kill and I leave a loud from this position, we're probably going to win the round. That's how it works mainly. So it's up to me to try to take these decisions, and it's more about me trying to understand. So one thing that we do commonly, when we're going to play TSM Astralis now on Overpass, we knew that Repri come from monster to other every single round on their hold. So first gun round, I got a boost and kill him in the first gun round. So we studied this together. This is what our coach brings a lot as well. He tries to find things that things does often so I can catch up and maybe contest and get a first kill because of this. So I think it's more because of my style and Cold Zero's style as well. Cold Zero doesn't like to go for this kind of picks. He's more a passive player and tries to get his angle. And he's good at this. I'm not that good holding place, I guess. He's better than me on this.
Okay. NBK, well, how would you describe Luminosity's style of play T-side? Because obviously they've come with like a fresh style. Like it's easy for to just like use a one term, you know, go, oh, this team's a tactical team, this team's an aggressive. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. Like if I watch Luminosity play, yeah, Luminosity and Na'Vi are both tactical teams, but they have quite a different style of doing it. So what do you think of Luminosity's style? What do they do differently?
Well, first of all, I think the difference between Luminosity and Na'Vi for us is that we don't play them we don't play Luminosity as often as we play Na'Vi. So first of all, we have that surprise factor where we're never sure what they're going to bring. And when they came into Europe for their bootcamp, they were literally crushing everyone very often in practice, because people were not expecting. Well, I mean, to me, practice still shows. It always shows something, but there is well, first of all, I think nobody were expecting us to be that strong individually. Like all the players were playing very, very well, and then yeah, there were plays that were just surprising. They were very. I mean, to me, the game that shocked me, kind of, was on Cobble, where you could feel that they had almost everything in their game. They had the very slow pace where they were just spinning the players, sending 2 to fake in A at 30 seconds, and then the 3 players in B had like 20 seconds to go and plant the bomb, and they would do it. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think FalleN described it himself. He wants his team to be complete and to have all the game styles, and that's what they're bringing to the table. And as long as they're going to hit their shots and play well as a team and have the good team play, they're going to keep on being very good. So like the one thing to say is complete. They have a complete game style, and I think that's the game style that can bring them far. And it already showed that they had excellent results. No title yet, but it's gonna come. It's gonna come at some point if they keep on working like this.
So one of the things I noticed about Luminosity, in fact, it was most noticeable before you got FNX and Taco, where the team had it wasn't as skilled as some of these top European teams. So if you would win rounds, it was easier to see if it was a good strategy that helped you win over some more skilled players. And one thing I noticed that a lot of the people who like the tactics of CS were really praising your team for is that you are one of the best teams in what a good term that YNk actually came up with is ice hockey. It's called power play, where basically any scenario where you have more men than the other team, because that's where if you play very smart, you can obviously use the man advantage and you can probably win the round without having to just take aim duels and win. And people noticed your team was very good at that, even with the old lineup. And then with this new lineup, even though you added more skill, it feels like you kept that style. Is there some reason why your team's excellent at that particular approach to CS, FalleN?
Yeah, I think from the last lineup we evolved a lot, and even me as a game leader, I changed some basics I had in mind about how I should lead my team. I learned a lot on this short period, and basic because of our recent success. I understood that without too many practice and playing on our own style could fit and helps a lot. That's what happened the first tournament. We had literally 0 maps practice together, and we went to the finals. So that showed FalleN, maybe we're doing something wrong. Maybe setting up everything your team is doing is not the proper way. So that really changed the way I was thinking about Counter-Strike, and that helps a lot. And when it comes to win rounds with 1 man advantage, I think it's more about the concept that as a unit, we're going to win this round. So it's all about getting info without dying and making the proper trades. So that's something we try to, when we are in those situations, I think with conversations in the past, I had put on their minds that this is a round that we should win and we're going to win just playing safe and playing together. And one thing that actually is helping us a lot is the way I'm leading. Sometimes on proper situations, when let's suppose we're playing cash and it's a 4v3 or 3v4, we have options to win our rounds like this, setup options. Like we know how to play a 3v4, we know how to play a 4v4, we have 2 or 3 options for each kind of this map, so they just know what they're doing. And it seems like they know everything, but in the end we have passed it on this situation for a couple of times and learned some stuff. Like we lost a round versus Fnatic on cash on this BO3 at Minsky that we shouldn't. We were playing on 4v4, I guess, and we went 3B and we had 1 A man. That doesn't make sense. There's no reason to be 3 going B and we're lurking A man. I mean, a lurker A man doesn't give you too much. You don't have vents info. You can't kill the guy coming mid, and maybe you can kill the guy A, but not for sure. So that's something that for next time we're probably not doing. Next time I have 4, we're gonna make sure that this guy from A man rotate mid, because it's better to have 3B and mid than 1 A man and 3 mid and 3B. So this kind of things where every time we lose a situation, we're trying to understand better and think what would be the best scenario, and this way we're gonna learn and react better next game.
So NBK, in this scenario, like being what we're going to call the power play, because it's like a good term, because this scenario where you have like a 1-man advantage or 2-man, whatever it is, and obviously then if you play like crossfires or you draw the enemy in, it's going to be very hard for him to kill more people than his men. I have to say, if I think of teams that aren't that good at that, yours is one of the ones I think of, because when we were describing him before, the players I was saying before, where if they're in like the numbers disadvantage, they still peek and take the aim duel. That's like most of EnVyUs players. And the
Certainly.
thing is, they will shoot the enemy in the head and they will win some of those rounds, but it never
Most of
feels
them,
like
yep.
Kenny S or Kiyoshima's going to draw the guy in, you know?
Yeah, so that's absolutely one of the main problems in our team. I think we have great individuals that can play good Counter-Strike, that are good individually, but it's the French thing. I don't know, there is always something at some point that is going to fuck up in your mind and you're going to play for your own and you don't think it's a team. Weirdly, if you look at the French team as a whole, where was the power play of those French teams? Exactly when they were created, or within the 3 months they were created. Because that's the only time where you don't have evolved tactics and you're just relying on team play, and you know as a player that you just have to rely on team play. And so that's when all the French teams were good, when they are created, when there was a shuffle. Now, what I'm trying to bring to the team, and so I realized it as one of the main problem, we have players and it's very specific. When we are on a 5-on-4, Happy goes hyper aggressive and tries to make it a 5-on-3 or try to make another play. If we are 4-on-5, Kenny and Apex won't think about the team, and we just try to weapon in hand headshot. And so it's very specific, and so that's problems that I noticed, because Happy was leading and so he didn't have the same grasp. But as a leader, I noticed that. And so that's things that we're trying to really fix, and where I'm just ready to punch them in the face if they keep on doing it, because that's like why Fnatic was one of the best team at some point was all those situations, 5-on-4, 5-on-3, 5-on-2, they were not losing a single one of them. If they were getting the entry kill, they were not losing the round ever.
Yeah.
And
I read some stats. I think they're the best on it. Like, Olaf Meister is the best, right? When he kills, get the first one, they never lose. It's kind
exactly. And so it's insane, and it's just based in Counter-Strike. You get a peak, you play together, you're 5-on-4, you made the difference. You took the risk, and now you have the low risk on taking your 5 players, go for revenge kills, go on the bomb side, win the round. Boom, clean and easy. Except that not all of the teams are like this, and so that's why we still have in our team a lot of room to improve still, and for players individually to improve and understanding the game better and being able to think for the team as a whole. And like, you can win 4 and 5 by just playing well. If you can put the good players in the right situations, that player can have several kills, and then the other group of attack can take and swarm the bomb site, etc., etc.
I think I can give you an example. Like, let's suppose it's 5v4, but in the end, Kenny has had to kill the last 3 guys on 1v3. It means you guys played poorly.
Exactly. Yeah.
But let's suppose you guys keep trading and it's a 2v1 to win. Means you guys made the right decision. It would work way more times than really winning at 1v3. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
That's
absolutely. And the thing is, Fnatic was the best at that, because as as players, you could see that they all master the basic. They all master the revenge kills. They know if they go through a smoke, they know how to go together. They know how to clean a bomb site together. They know how to play off of each other. And that's why when a team is playing good, they just have their individuals playing with perfect basic team play. And so that's the basics of the game. If you're good at the basics of the game as an individual player, and all the players are like that, fuck the strats, fuck the advanced plays.
This is way more important than strats. These basics and people evolving is way more important than strats. That's what I realized in the end as well.
Yeah. And there was one thing that Happy was talking about, and that lots of players should take into account, and in-game leaders. But in the end, Counter-Strike is all about efficiency. You win rounds if you're efficient, and it's the only thing that matters. It can be rush 5-man, no gear, no nothing. Just even if you have 10k, you buy 5 Tech 9s, you fucking rush and you clear the bomb site. It could be that. Okay, it's maybe a dumb play, but it's efficiency. It's efficient. It's gonna work. And in the end, it doesn't matter if you win by a beautiful Counter-Strike, by having perfect set tactics with like super perfect flashes, etc. What matters is winning the round. It doesn't matter how you do it, and that's things that some people don't recognize yet. And in the end, it's all that matters. So you build from efficiency to basics, and then you need tactics to counter players, and then on the top you just make tricks to shut down players at some point.
A goal is a goal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I kind of agree with what FalleN said, that like that core of like how the team plays like off each other, like 2 people working together in these situations, is like the core it's the core quality in Counter-Strike. Because what's funny is if you pick Fnatic as the example, when they're at their best, yes, they had this quality and they also had like super sick players and good tactics. But if you look at them at their end, with the old lineup, that's how you see how important this was, because at the end they would only win games like super close, so they had to do some crazy comeback, and that was like they almost had to rely on that quality as a crutch then, because they didn't have the best players in all positions, you know, like for example at the time, if you think of like the last major they won, at that point in time teams like Virtus Pro, teams like TSM probably had better players than them overall, you know. If you look at some of the other teams had better tactics than them, but they were just holding on because they always had that core quality. That was the thing they were the best at. They had the best like man-to-man team play, but obviously you need the other qualities as well. So okay, I have an interesting question here for FalleN, because he watches a lot of games, he thinks about a lot of games. So here's a question, FalleN. When your team used to play with the old lineup, you basically, even though you played all these European teams, you almost never met EnVyUs. You only met them once, like you said, at ESWC. You met them on one map. You never played them in a series. But I always thought back then, whenever I saw you play a series against like really good European teams, I almost felt like, oh, this is unfair, you know. It's just like almost like someone's little brother trying to fight like a champion or something, because you didn't have all the skilled players. But now it's okay. You've got all the skilled players, mate. So you have played EnVyUs one time in a series. It was your first. It was the one where you basically. I know you played them in a series because I have all these Facebook messages, right? And they all say like, oh, you predicted Luminosity, and then they just go into Portuguese at that point in time. So I remember this very vividly, okay? I remember this all happening. And you won the series in shocking fashion because you won 2-1 in maps, and then obviously the third map was this Inferno game where EnVyUs was very good on Inferno. But since then, you never played EnVyUs. You haven't played any maps offline against them. You haven't played a series against them, but you're two of the top teams. What do you think will happen, FalleN, when eventually Luminosity plays EnVyUs in a series?
I think we trade too much knowledge right now, and we're probably gonna be mindfucked on the next. I'm gonna be trying to figure out what NBK is doing. I really don't know, man. The game against EnVyUs was very important for us because it was when we started shocking the world. You know, we just lost for a Fnatic 16-0 on this to when we played EnVyUs and won. So that was really intense, and that teach me a lot because I understood that we could have success without going too much into strategies kind of thing. So just learned me a lot as a game leader. About next game, I don't know, man. I don't know. We're gonna try to do our best and see what happens.
Katowice.
Figure out. Yeah, Katowice, right? We're in the same groups, right? No.
No, we're in different groups. We're gonna be in the bracket, right? Or in a final.
Hopefully, hopefully. Hopefully we're gonna press the group stage at the face then. Yeah, it would be a pleasure. I like those guys. I think they're a reference for me. All these teams have been playing the past. I learn a lot from them. Would be a mistake if I just come here and try to figure out that all these things we're doing now, I just got it by myself. That would be very wrong. So I'm always looking forward to these players, EnVyUs, Fnatic, Virtus Pro. Even if Virtus Pro is a little shaky in this moment, they teach me a lot in the past. So all these guys have earned my respect, and every time I face them, I just want to do our best, and I really don't know who's going to come with the victory.
So NBK, what do you think if you play a series against Luminosity? Because obviously it's a different style. You haven't played them since that first tournament. When I mean, it's almost unfair to compare that one because they themselves didn't know what their style was. They only had the players 2 days. True. You know.
Yeah, they was pretty random. Not too.
I mean, it's a tough question. I mean, I guess it's going to be a great game no matter what. That's the first thing I can say. It's going to be a good show, but. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a set answer. I think like the good thing about Luminosity, what I like about them as a team, is that you can identify to some players. As in, you can talk about the 5 players having something special into the team, and even worldwide being considered some of the strongest. So it's gonna be a huge fight when we're gonna meet them. And who's gonna come out on top?
We can talk later again after the game. Better.
I don't know. I think I've stolen enough things from their game that I know how to counter them. But you know, we'll see how it goes. Maybe they're gonna bring some new stuff for next time.
Okay.
Like because to be fair, I stole a lot of stuff from Luminosity for the team.
Come
so
on.
You know, just think that worked.
So one of the teams that, here's what's weird, when you talk about the different top teams, it's easy to see like, okay, Fnatic's doing really well, Virtus Pro dropped off a bit. The weirdest team in the world to me is Astralis, because even when everyone says like, oh, they're not so good now, Well, they still never. They don't like lose to bad teams. They like only lose to the best teams, and they're like just below the top level. And somehow, it's true they never break through and win. They're never going to win the tournament. They haven't gone to any finals in a long time. But they're also never quite like rock bottom. They never drop down and like get beaten up. And I mean, you saw when CLG tried to play them in the third place game. They probably thought like, oh, we could get this third place game, and then Astralis was like, there we go, it's over. Like, what do you think the problem with Astralis is? What holds them back from being like the finalists or the champions?
Oh, that's a tough question as well.
That's a tough question.
I mean, it looks like the same problem over and over again. When they were winning tournaments, the ones they won in 2015, I feel like it was mostly facing against Fnatic specifically. And I mean, I don't know if I'm wrong or right. I don't exactly recall that moment. But yeah, it just like they can't close games. There are games that they have to win, and they just can't do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. How can you say a team is not playing well if they made 14 rounds, man? I mean, they are so close to winning. It's weird. Yeah. I see them lose sometimes. It's heartbreaking, like 16-14. If sometimes they're winning 14-10 and they lose. So I have a conversation with Kerrigan also, and he said, FalleN, it's not like we can go out of this game and learn something from a mistake because we had the game. We just know what happened. We just close and close it. So it's hard. This situation is pretty difficult. It's better to just lose 16-0 and say, okay, everything's wrong. Now we're gonna change this. Yeah. But when you lose for 16-14, what can you say? Like the finals, I lost for Navi. We had 2 match points to win the finals, 15-14 and 15-14, and I lost it. Of course, I can take some things from the last round. Maybe we played too fast. Maybe we didn't coordinate well. We had someone lurking when it shouldn't. Of course, there are some mistakes, but you can't say we played badly because we had the match point. So it's hard to say this kind of Astralis because they're always so close, but always so far at the same time when they got these comebacks.
Yeah, to me, the just the common thing in all those games that were tight and that they lost are all those clutch rounds, all those 3-on-3s, 2-on-2s, and I think it's similar to a lot of teams. But when the scores are that tight, where it's often like 16-14 or overtime that you can close, etc., the team that is supposed to win loses all the clutch rounds and lose all those situations whereby simple team play, simple work together, or just communicating better with each other, you win those games and you win those clutch rounds, or like you lose, I guess, an eco or something like that. So it's just, again, to me, if you lose a tight game where you had the upper hand, you didn't master the basics enough, and you can't apply the basic crossfires, playing together, revenge kill well enough to close the game. And it's a common problem to a lot of teams, and that's where, or like closing rounds when you're 5-on-4 or stuff like that. So to me, it's just in general the common factor into all those teams that cannot close games. It's mastering the basics more in order not to lose the rounds you're supposed to win. Because there is nothing more frustrating than calling the perfect tactic, getting the entry frag, and losing the round by stupid retake or something like this. You just think like, oh,
I think it goes back. It goes back to the other thing we're talking. Either they pick it too much and diet, or either they just, okay, no, I shouldn't throw this round. I'm doing nothing, and then everyone just die together. So maybe it's this teeny line between those things and needs to be worked better, I guess.
Because the thing is, I mean, when I look at the roster that they have, like if I look on paper at the lineup they have, this lineup should win tournaments for sure. I mean, they have like one of the best balances of the team. You know, every role has filled out. Almost every player is one of the best at their roles.
Yeah, they're all good.
But then you look in the actual tournaments, and like you say, they're always losing, they're getting 13, 14 rounds, but they're always losing the big game, the big semi-final, the big third map or whatever. And it is always the clutch rounds. Like, 2 people I did notice just performance-wise, it feels like they went off a little bit in the last few months, was when you talk about clutches, 2 of their best clutch players was obviously Zipnix and Dupree. And Dupree was super hot when they were coming into that last major. That was when he was like having all these tournaments, he was winning all these 1v1s. He like dropped off a bit, and then Zipnix was good at game show, but otherwise he had some tournaments where he was like a bit off, and so somehow I don't know why they don't win the clutches. You're right, because obviously famously against your team, that's where it's always come down to. It feels like it's not like you ever wreck them 16-4 or anything, NBK. It's like it's always like 10 3v3s and you guys win 8 of them or something, you know.
Yeah, like the best example being at Star Ladder, that Mirage game we won 16-14. I don't know, I can't count how many 4-on-4, 3-on-4, 2-on-4s we won against them, and it was all those mistakes they were making in the game that just gave us the game. And so again, we only someone working inside the team and being really interested could give the answer. But to me, it's either individual players just wanting to close rounds too quick, or just playing for their own frags, or in the wrong way.
Take too many risks, right? Yeah.
Or just their approach that is of the clutch situation that is not good. And so it's problems that you have to be aware of if you want to fix them. And there are fixes. There are fixes to all those things. If you're bad at clutches, then play for the revenge frag. I mean, if you're bad, for instance, you're on 4-2, you cannot play passive. Then play aggressive, but play the revenge kill. Like 2 players going in at the same time, trying to get the revenge and be like 3-on-1 instead of 4-2, etc., etc. So you have fixes, but then you have to be really aware of your problems. And then again, maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's just individual players that cannot get their shit together and play the round well. So we can only speculate about how to
we're
make
outside,
them
right?
better.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Like, do you realize, NBK, how tilted it must make Astralis now that Dignitas beat NV 2-0
Yeah.
and then they're always losing to Envious? They must be like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, I mean, no, they must be thinking like, yeah, shit, something's wrong.
Yeah, but we could be witnessing I start from a Tyron team soon as well from Dignitas, right? Maybe right now we're thinking this way, even Dignitas is winning, but what can we say after 2 or 3 months? Maybe we're going to say Dignitas is a new Tier 1 team. So in the end, it makes sense they're winning, right? Because I see a very strong Dignitas playing right now. Enough games to see that they can really be a Tier 1 team in the next tournaments and get closer to the top teams. They're playing it well enough already, in my opinion.
So our last big topic I had is one that we were talking a little bit about before the show started, which was obviously now it is possible in CS at a lot of tournaments to have the coach be the in-game leader. Now this is being implemented. In fact, even in some tournaments, they're now letting people have a computer as well. So you can even watch in the game. You're not just looking over someone's shoulder. And even though teams did try this a while ago, I mean, if you remember, it was like middle of last year when the Kingwin guys was trying it with a few different people, you know. Yep. So they were one of the first to try it, but obviously it wasn't so successful for them back then. Like they didn't become like the best team or anything. But we've seen a few teams recently do it. I mean, the best example is obviously Na'Vi, because they actually look better tactically since they got StarX. And then now you saw one of the teams at this last game show tournament, CLG, had Peter come along and do that, and it looked like they improved a bit. Obviously, the problem with the topic in the past was there wasn't any examples of it working. Now, it's not going to work every time, but what are your general thoughts on this approach, Fall? Like, will more teams do it? What type of teams do you think it would work for to have the coach be the in-game leader?
I think the most difficult thing is having a person that the 5 guys agree or at least are willing to listen to, you know? Because, like, people tend to bring a lot of old players to the coach position, which I don't think is smart, because those guys have not been playing for a while. Even if they have experience, they have the game sense, they made these best players in the past. Right now the game is different, and I don't know if they're really updated to what's happening on Counter-Strike. So if it was me and someone comes with an old player, I wouldn't expect him to be my game leader, no. Maybe I should expect him to fix and realize mistakes we're making, these kind of things, but expecting him to lead the game would be a little too much for me. So when I see old players coming back, I always think that way, maybe he doesn't have enough knowledge to be the game leader right now. So second thing, I like, as you mentioned, Pita, if I had to give a hint, of course it's me, it's my opinion, doesn't mean I'm right, but what I think from CLG is they try to play correctly too much, you know. And as you see with Pita, if they didn't improve it last tournament, I think they did, but they still play the same way, and it's not updated. I will mention my practice I have yesterday. Then I play Inferno. How can I be looking for banana? I was playing CT, 35 seconds, no one hits banana. I was looking car from the start of the round to 35 seconds, and no one did nothing on banana. That makes no sense on the meta is playing right now, because I had all my nades, my teammate on my side had all the nades, we didn't throw anything because they're not coming, and they didn't make it one round, they didn't meet like 10 rounds. Even if they're practicing some A hits or something with the errant, because they're hitting me sometimes. So this means they are not playing freedom, and I think this isn't the best meta for right now, you know. They didn't have guys taking care of banana and trying to fight there. So they were playing more on a strat base, knowing what every detail of their strat was. And I don't think this is smart, in my opinion, because you can give your enemy so much opportunities on this. Like, after the 5th round, I have all my nades saved for the last minute of the round. There was a round that tried to come B, was 35 seconds, we have 2 smoke and 2 molotovs. It's not working. You know, just because they didn't have anyone looking for info on the beginning of the round. So when it comes to codes, and I can mention Zeus as an example, from what I expect to Zeus is bring us more details on what our enemies does, and just some couple ideas, some places where I can look to exploit. Like as I said, on Astralis, I knew Dupree come to Monster to get order on their default as T. So first gun round, I went there to pick him. So this is kind of formation that my coach gave me, and I expect King to bring more new things. There was one thing that Zeus bring us on last tournament. He got to discover a decoy grenade that you could throw from B on cache to door on A. So when you open it as T side, it opened to the opposite way. It was like the CT was open the door. And I killed Dennis because of this. Dennis was boosting side, and when he decided to go off the boost, I killed him because the door was open to our side. So this is something Zeus brought to us and something that we could use on our hold. So at least for us, because we have me on being a game leader, so we don't need him game leading, I think this is the way I expect coach to act. But on other things, if you look for Cloud9 right now, they're leaking in game leading. So I think for Cloud9, it would be a good idea to find someone that can lead the thing. But then it leads to another question. Would the players fit and understand and believe in their coach? So who is the guy that could fit this position? So that's a tough question.
Yeah. I mean, NBK, what is it like in your team? Because obviously it's not purely like YNk took over as the in-game leader or whatever, but he's doing some mixture of it.
Well, first of all, I agree with FalleN. I think having a coach is good in every way, but I think all the coaches have to be adapted to the team in a way that they have to bring the perfect thing for the team and what they need. So regarding YNk, we brought him for very specific reasons. French teams have some problems since the dawn of time, and that being relationship between players, playing the basics, and being always motivated and working well together as a team at all point of times. And so that's YNk's job pretty much, to do that. He has to obviously analyze demos, watch what the other teams are doing in the current meta game and recently for the upcoming events, and then transmit that information to me, and I'm gonna do in function of that. Fix those problems within players of like playing together, understanding each other very well, playing a bomb site together. Fixing problems for individual players. So if someone cannot play or hold a bomb site, then going with him and trying to work specifically with him to fix it. And regarding the meta game, thinking about the game and in-game leadership, well, that's where our team don't really need that, because we have Happy that broke the meta game in a way already in the past. So he has the good approach to Counter-Strike, and at the same time having the different ideas. And I am also in like roughly the same shape as Happy. Like I can bring new stuff, new metagame, new ideas, etc.
So you'd say
we
that
don't need.
I think we assume that a coach tries to fill what your gaps, right? Like for C9, a coach should be someone that could take the game and game lead it. For me, I don't need someone to game lead it for game for me, but I need new stuff. I need more info. I need where I could exploit. So the coach is still a new thing that can be used on so many ways. It's hard to say who needs it and who doesn't need it. Like for Nathan, maybe someone tried to make the players feeling better, more confident, and maybe willing to practice more. It's something that he was lacking, you know. So every coach can work on their own team faults or team gaps, in my opinion.
Exactly, yeah. Each coach has, and you can even see it, like Navi are working with Stark as an in-game leader. Works perfectly well for them. Like, it's very good. Luminosity with Zeus. Zeus is working in the background. It's not extremely. I mean, you can see that he's still involved in game. Like, he is talking a lot during the game, during the timeouts, etc.
Yeah, sometimes he really adds something important. Like,
Yeah.
I remember I was losing at a prank game, and he said, "FalleN, they're not using mid close. They're not close mid never. So you can exploit it." Next round, we just did something mid, like little sneaky, and we won the round because of his info, you know. So sometimes if someone understands the game, that's what I think, bringing old players that doesn't see the things that are happening right now, it's bad. So if something is someone is smart that can see the gaps, you can use it.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's such a new thing. Having an active coach that is working 24/7 with the team, that you can make whatever you want off of it. And it's up to each team to know their weaknesses and to know what they need into their own game plan and their whole stuff. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing, but then each team has to use it differently.
I think obviously FalleN picked a good example there, obviously, which is Cloud9, because they're a team that's got a brand new in-game leader, someone with no history of being an in-game leader, and at the last tournament, they really struggled on the T side. The big problem for a team like that is that, yeah, in an ideal world, you get someone who fills all the gaps. Like the obvious dream for me, if you were Cloud9, would be that like God B would join just as the coach and be the in-game leader or something like that. You know, someone who can read the game, give you tactics. He can do everything you want basically. But the problem is they can't do that. Like there's no option for that at the moment. There's very few players who can do that. So if I was them and I was trying to like fix the problem, okay, let's say, for example, that you have to have nothing be the overall in-game leader. Let's say that's just a set thing and we can't change that. Then to me, the main thing that they would need is just someone who can at least read the game. Like maybe someone who reads the game and he just tells them like, this is how their setup is being on CT, notice this pattern. And then at that point, he just has to focus on picking the tactic to use. Like if he has his playbook of tactics he's designed, he's then just picking, right, okay, I kind of know roughly which way it's set up, and then I'm picking the one that I think is best from that. That would be a way to like ease him into being an in-game leader, whereas at the moment, he essentially has to like overnight do everything that in-game leader does, or his team's going to be really bad on T side. And they're coming from a team where they used to have a famously good in-game leader who set everything up. So the drop-off between what they're expecting is huge. And so that's why it looks so bad now, I think. So to me, that's where someone could help fix it, maybe. But I have to say, I don't know who that person would be.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, comes to another problem. Who is coming and will the players trust him? Like, what about after the first losses? They will still trust him. So it's complicated, man. It's very, very complicated to have a coach.
Yeah, it's very tough. And I think even though you can have how can I say, dodge problems in a way, as in Jordan is lacking of in-game leadership abilities, etc. Like we're all completely erasing that thing by bringing another in-game leader, fix the problem 100%. Like there's gonna be missing at some point, so you have to make the work anyway. I think as an in-game leader right now, Jordan has to make the work into bring more efficiency to the team. And because even though they're playing together for like a few weeks now, I don't exactly know when Stewie joined, I think beginning of the year. There is, I don't know, it just seems that nothing is really set. And the only thing they have are basic tactics, as in the most common thing, the A strat on Mirage, where they just throw 3 smokes, flashes, and they go in. And to me, the easy way to do that is watch demos of all the other teams. Just like I was on City side on Train, we're not doing that much. I was kind of lost. Like we got destroyed by Navi, and so we were kind of lost. Like, yeah, what the fuck do we need to do to be better? And then I just watched the teams that were good on Train, pick their ideas, try to understand, because I think that's one thing that many in-game leaders don't do. And as an in-game leader, I like to get into the mind of how, or get into the way a team is approaching the game as a whole. So if they like to just, if they don't like to be pushed, if they don't like for players to be aggressive, and all that kind of stuff, I think it's basically reading the opposing team, but in a way where you just don't anti-strat them, you just counter them as a whole by changing the game style.
Just understand and And
Yeah.
instead of
Enter the
okay,
mind.
because of that I'm gonna change my game. No, I just understand it, and okay, with my game I'm gonna beat them because I know this as well, right? Just to make it better instead of just changing everything. Well, maybe we should bring another topic here. I don't know if it's interesting, but I think the North American change was a little bad when it comes to roles on this season, because they got Stewie, but they already got an entry killer, which is Freakazoid. So they lost a game leader and now an entry killer, and suddenly they don't have a lurker anymore. I think Nothing is playing lurker role, which I don't think suits him the best. I think Nothing, if he was on my team, he would be a support player or maybe the second guy entering aside. I think he's where I would like to have Nothing. And then we go to Liquid. Liquid first dropped Fugly, which for me was a good player, and I can see Sajir is doing well. So Fugly was a consistent good player on Liquid, and they dropped him to get Simple. If you look Simple and Fugly, of course you're gonna say Simple is better, Finger kills more, and he is more skilled than Fugly. I agree with that. But for the team, I think Liquid is losing way more with Fugly than Simple. And I'll be honest, we have been losing a lot for old Liquid last year. They were the most difficult team to play in North America because they had the basics. Every team knew what the other teammate was doing. So they were a good team, and I think if they kept together, they would make more things together. So other than just changing Fugly, they tried to adapt Adrian on another role. And then where comes the problem. Adrian was an Alper, and he may not be the best Alper in the world, but he was good in game leader, and he was a decent Alper. He got the kills that he should. And now he was playing another role because of Simple, and then is where the struggles. Then Adrian started to play very bad because he's not really slow, he's not used to it, and the team is not there to say, okay, Adrian, we got you, stay practicing, we gotta let you have some time to evolve. So the change doesn't make sense because I could say, and I said, Adrian is gonna have a bad time right now because he's leaving his role, he's going to another one, he's not the best guy to suit it, and I don't know if Lick is gonna give him time enough to get better with. So you could predict those things, and I don't understand the change. It wasn't something that I just didn't understand all the change they made on the season.
Don't you think the gamble was worth it though to get Simple? Because the gamble then is if he's amazing, maybe the team is better overall. Like they're winning more games, they're better against Europeans.
Well, I would like to say it's work, but after the first game they lost, the first tournament, the first thing I saw from Simple is him tweeting that Adrian needs to DM more. So if you see this, you're gonna understand that Simple is a guy that when he loses, he thinks he's not part of the problem. The problem was Adrian not killing enough. That's
sure.
When he tweets it. That's what I got for it, right?
Yeah.
He thinks the problem was Adrian not killing enough. But if you look to Tempo Storm game, there was a round when Tempo Storm was ecoing on Mirage, and he went to Connector and to Jungle with the AWP. I mean, there is no in-game leader that would say, okay, we go A, Simple, you go mid, you go Connector, and you go Jungle on an anti-eco round. So in the end, I think this was his decision in the game, which I agree. So instead of looking for his own mistakes, he's always blaming someone else. And I don't think this is good in the long term, and I don't think this is going to be good for Liquid if it keeps happening, Because as I said, this lineup from Liquid could work if they start winning, but if they start losing, what's going to happen? So getting Simple, I mean, it was a good addition in terms of skill and power skill, but they lose as a team. That's my opinion. So if I don't see from outside, of course, my opinion might not be true, but if I don't see Simple willing to work as a team and a better team player, I don't see this working in the long term.
I mean, the problem for me is the order they made the moves in. Like if you look at what's happened in the end. So in the end, if we just took all moves as if they happened at the same time, they removed Adren, they brought in Simple. They brought in Kusta, they removed Fugly. I think if you could do it in a different order, like if you're going to remove Adren, then get Simple, but keep Fugly, and then just
made more sense,
do it
right?
that way around.
Yeah, Simple
then you have
Adren, yeah.
That if you, I mean, obviously they couldn't do that because it wasn't the order it happened in. But if we were like in a football manager game, that's the way you would do it instead. Like make more sense for the roles,
Yeah.
So unfortunately for them, because they went the other route, now they don't have Fugly. They gave him to CLG for free, basically.
If Adrian kept with the team for coaching, I don't know if he's willing to do that, but if he went out to get Simple, it would be a good thing. If Sangaris went off Cloud9 to be a coach and game leading, it would be good for Cloud9. Yeah. Both of them, if kept with the team, being a coach, would be the best thing that both teams could have. But instead, we saw both teams letting them go, maybe because they didn't want to coach. That's something we didn't know. I don't talk to them about that. But they lost their game minds to add people that doesn't suit better. And also, it was weird in my opinion.
NBK, do you think any of these NA teams are going to like get really good? Is there one that you're putting your hopes on? Because I kind of agree overall with FalleN. Like, I think that whole thing of like the NA shuffle, I think you almost shouldn't be allowed to call it that, because to me a shuffle's like some crazy mix-up where we're going to get all these teams are going to get better. And I look at theirs and it was kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I agree on a lot of points with FalleN. To me, it's just, most of those changes don't really make sense to me from an external point of view. You can see in all the successful teams that the team makes sense.
Use your example, Nate. The new EnVyUs. You got the best stopper.
The roles,
you got the better entry killer. So you try to get the best roles, right?
Yeah, and to me, like, for instance, when Cloud9 had the good games in summer, their team made sense. They had people in their good roles. They were playing well together, and not as simply as that. They were winning, but it was a very big factor into them performing very well. So it's I mean, it's underwhelming because I think NA has a good team. I think they have potential. They can have top teams, and not only one. They can have, I don't know, minimum 2 performing at the
They should
level.
have 2 good teams. Yeah.
And sadly, I don't know. It looks like they cannot put the pieces of the puzzle together and make the right things. I mean, at least from an external point of view, maybe they have it all figured out, and like in 6 months we're all gonna get crushed by NA. But at the moment, the way the teams are built and looking at where they aim to go, I mean, I don't see them having the same strength as all the successful teams at the moment, and to me, it's quite a huge factor as a whole in their teams. And I think CLG is quite promising if they perform well with Peter as an in-game leader. But I'm a bit surprised by the choice of Cloud9 because. To me, it doesn't Stewie doesn't fit the role we need him into, and I see it in a very simple way. Then again, I'm not a part of the scene. I'm not practicing against them all the time. But
I think it's good to mention as well that it's not about Stewie being bad or good. It's about all the things he's missing. That's something that the community is over. I can see that the tweets being created. This kind of thing. Stewie is not good. Why he's in Cloud9? I mean, Stewie is a good player. But I don't think he was what Cloud9 was missing. So that's the problem.
Yep, exactly.
So they have 2 choices now. Or they rechange and thinking better, or they just adapt and try to work as a team, because it can work. They can make it work. But they need to change some stuff. And the first one I would say is nothing shouldn't be the game leader. I mean, if you guys want to give him time to evolve as one, it takes time, but he can does it. Everyone can. And the second thing is, I don't think nothing should be the lurker for no reason. I mean, he's in game leading. He doesn't have enough in-game sense for that right now, and he's a good second entry player, support player. I think he is. He should work on that. So that's what I would do or try to do on Cloud9 if I could help them.
Makes sense.
Okay. Right, so we've covered a lot of stuff here. Okay, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Do you have a final message for everyone, FalleN? Something you want people to think about on the show, or just anyone you want to thank or anything like that?
Yeah, just like to thank everyone who is following us closely. Recent, we have some bad case that happened. Some of our players here said some bad words to another, and that's something I was really pissed off, because this is not something this is not who we are, being honest. So I heard some people saying, oh, no, Luminosity showed their hero face. And let's be honest, those guys don't think like this. So we overreacted for some bullying that was happening with Taco, and this should never have happened. So just like to apologize everyone for this that happened. And we are from stations, and they make sure that they'll never do this thing again, because they don't represent who they are, and as they don't represent how we think. So just like to say we're sorry for that episode. Thanks everybody who is cheering for our team. Our goal to this year is to keep evolving, and maybe we can get a title. I think we have been very close last time, 52 match points, man. That's heartbreaking, but if we keep strong, I think we can get at least 1 title this year, and work hard for that.
Okay. NBK, What about you?
Well, thanks for sticking that long into the interview, because it was a very long time. And I think it's interesting to talk about the metagame in a format where you don't have only a limited space to write your thoughts, etc. And Yeah, I think it was a great episode. Great hanging and talking.
I think we can tell people, Nate, next tournament I will grab Nate and we're gonna watch a demo together. And see.
Ah, yeah, right, sure, yeah. That's what
Right.
I've heard. A good guy for his Gamers Academy, and yeah, it's probably gonna happen. So stay tuned for the things that are gonna happen in a close future.
Okay, and I'll just thank Yanko since he's not here, since
Yeah,
he
right,
left
yeah.
us, because he's so
Sure.
diligent,
Thank you,
even when he's at an event doing casting and doing the podcast. So he's a good lad. Right, that's the end,
Such a good
basically.
guy.
I've turned off there.